Amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird, too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals, but I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There's only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more. Get her ass! No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for him. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was.
We are loud. We are proud. We are the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. October 19th, ladies and gentlemen. Halloween is around the corner, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then New Year's, and then a new year, ladies and gentlemen. We have a great show lined up for you guys tonight. But first, Speeder, what is up?
Feeling a little better. Was obviously stuffy
I'm
yesterday. I know you've been dealing with some stuff last week.
Nasal drip for me.
But feeling a little better, not as stuffy. Coughing a little, but not as bad as yesterday. So hopefully it gets better for me.
Well, I was sick for a week, and I was dealing with antibiotics and all that other stuff. And now I'm back. I'm here, and I make sure that I'm here at 100%, or maybe I would say 85%. But I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm here to give you a good show. Speedy, I've been watching the Shrek movies. I've become a bigger Shrek fan. And who's your favorite guy? Who's your favorite cartoon in that movie?
Definitely Donkey, by far.
Donkey? I like Donkey, too. You don't like Puss?
He's good. No, he's probably...
You kind of look like Puss.
I do.
You do.
I don't know.
I mean, do you have a sword?
I don't know what resemblance you see in that. But...
Where do you keep your sword, by the way?
I don't have a sword.
Yeah, you do. It's in your pants, right?
I have a sword in my pants.
You have a sword in your pants. Every guy has a sword in their pants.
That makes no sense.
It does. Do you have a sword or not?
No, I don't.
You do have a sword. You have to understand the lingo here. You do have a sword. You just need to know how to use it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm not a knight in shining armor.
Well, you do, and you will, as everybody knows. But we have a great show lined up for you guys. At 8:30, we'll be talking to 10-year MLB vet pitcher, and he's still in the majors, and draftee and draft pick of the New York Yankees, our friend, Shane Greene. If you don't remember him, he was a pretty good relief pitcher for the New York Yankees. He's still in the majors, and love the kid, and this will be the first time he's been on our show. At 9 o'clock, we'll be talking to former Titans and Giants All-Pro linebacker Keith Bulluck. He will be joining us for the first time on the show as well. We're very excited to have Keith on the show. He just came back from London,
And now, ladies and gentlemen, he will be on our show tonight, live and in color. Oh, man, the New York Knicks have been checking in with the Timberwolves on availabilities of certain players. And we all know that one player that they've been checking in on, and that is Karl-Anthony Towns. And we all know Leon Rose was his agent, and there has been talks that he could be available at one point or at some point this year. So looking forward to seeing what that happens, how that happens, or if it happens. But the Knicks will be interested in a lot of free agents or even guys that are under contract. But Karl-Anthony Towns has not been a playoff player for the Timberwolves. So maybe if he goes to another team, gets closer to home, as everybody knows he's from New Jersey, maybe he'll play better in New York, as he grew up a New York Knicks fan. James Harden remains away from the 76ers with an unexcused absence from practice. So James Harden has been the story over here or over there or in Philadelphia with the 76ers. I have no idea what's going on, but we all know he does not want to play for the 76ers. He's right now in Houston hanging out, partying. As we know, he loves going to the strip clubs and the clubs out there. So, hey, I think that's where he wants to end up. If it's not Houston, it's probably one of those LA teams, maybe the Clippers, as we heard over the summer. So a lot to get into with the James Harden situation. Michigan football under investigation for illegal sign and stealing. So they're doing a Patriot. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe Jim Harbaugh is hanging out with Bill Belichick in the offseason. I would think that. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's Spygate, but maybe it is. Maybe this is Michigan Gate. I don't know, but we will get into that. The Cardinals clear Kyler Murray to practice and expecting him to play plenty of time this season. So it seems like Kyler Murray will be back. No more Dobbs. I think a lot of teams should be very interested in Dobbs as a backup quarterback because he's proven himself to be an efficient quarterback in the NFL. Davante Adams says his benchmark is greatness and not wins and losses. Davante Adams, as he speaks in a third person, as every single NFL player likes to speak in a third person, he believes greatness is so much more important than wins and losses. Well, that just shows you he's not all about the team. He's all about himself. Let's parlay with Derek and Chaz and maybe a few others. So we're looking forward to that. And Week 7 NFL picks. Oh, my God. What a crazy, crazy weekend it's going to be. The Islanders will be playing Buffalo on Saturday again. We will be doing the weekend crunch. That'll be fun, as we've been doing a lot for the New York Islanders and the organization on 103.9 FM. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to, and I will get involved in this conversation with Davante Adams. As he said in his press conference today, when you're a player like me, mentally, my benchmark is not wins and losses. It's greatness. He added that he came to Las Vegas to win, and he will be frustrated if things don't run smoothly on offense. He added, I'm not here just to hang out. I came here to win and to do it the right way. So if it doesn't look like it's supposed to look, then I'm going to be frustrated. And if I'm not part of the plan, the Raiders offense is 9th worst in total yards per game, 4th worst in rushing yards per game, and 5th worst in points per game this season. The Raiders are 3-3 this season, but their wins are against the Broncos, the Packers, and the Patriots. Adams has 39 catches for 471 yards and 3 touchdowns this season, but has only 9 catches for 74 yards in each of the last 2 weeks against the Packers and the Patriots. So when you hear Davante Adams come out at a press conference and say, I'm here for greatness, I'm not here for wins and losses, it only tells me one thing about Davante Adams. It means, why did he leave the Green Bay Packers to go to the Vegas Raiders if he was looking to be great? Because we all know Josh McDaniels isn't the coach that gets you to be great. As we know with the Tim Tebow signing and why they brought Tim Tebow over there with the Broncos. And we all know that Josh McDaniels was not there for more than 2 years with the Broncos. He's going on his second year with Vegas, and every single person or every single player that plays for him has not liked the way he's coached. If you look at his offensive trend, this guy's an offensive coordinator. He comes from the Patriots. His offense with the Patriots and Tom Brady were amongst the league's best. You look at where they are ranked right now and where they were ranked last year, they're amongst the worst. So let me ask you a question, Davante. If you're there for greatness, how great could you be in Vegas? That's the question. Because we sit here today, Davante Adams' numbers are there. I believe he's still amongst the league's best. 39 catches for 471 yards and 3 touchdowns. You would expect him to have more touchdowns. You would think 6 or 7. Last year, I think he had about 12 or 13. He doesn't have that connection like he had with Derek Carr. And Derek Carr was forcing the ball to him last year. Jimmy G, he's all about the team. He's all about Josh McDaniels. And as you can see, Jimmy G is not healthy once again. Now you have guys like Hoyer that is going to be the quarterback for at least the next week or so. And do you trust Hoyer to get the ball to Davante Adams? As we all know, Davante Adams, over the last, 8 years of his career, played with arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And that's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not quarterbacking right now in the NFL, nor will he ever quarterback for the Vegas Raiders. So you go back to greatness. What made you decide to go to the Raiders if you're all about greatness? If you were all about greatness, Davante, you would have stayed there in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Hey, maybe Aaron Rodgers would have decided to stay there with the Green Bay Packers if that happened. Aaron Rodgers is now the starting quarterback, or right now, a hurt quarterback for the New York Jets. He moved on. And what's going to happen in the offseason when you're not happy about the offense, you're not happy at the position that you're at with the Las Vegas Raiders? I know Tom Brady is trying to get ownership of the team, or a piece of ownership of the team. Does that make the team better if Tom Brady comes in as one of the owners? I doubt it. Davante is going to be asking for his way out in the offseason. That's what it tells me right here. He doesn't want to be there. The only reason why he came out, I think a week and a half ago, and said that he wants to be a Raider for life, he wants to stay with the Raiders and finish his contract and finish his career there. The only reason why he's doing that is trying to hide what is going on in the locker room. Jacobs is not happy there. We all know that. He didn't get his extension. He signed a 1-year deal with incentives, just like Saquon. Do you really think that Jacobs is happy to be there? Darren Waller is happy that he's not with them, even though they're 3-3 and the Giants are 1-4 or whatever the hell their record is. He's not happy there anyways, but hey, you know what? His wife plays for a WNBA team for the Liberty. His wife actually went to the championship yesterday. They did lose, but nevertheless, at least he is where he wants to be. At one point, we were talking about Renfro being one of the best slot receivers in the league. Ever since Josh McDaniels took over for that team, what has happened to him? This team offensively is horrible. Absolutely terrible. And you can see the statistics that they're not good. And defensively, they got better. But how much better have they got? They're horrible too. They're 3-3, and the only reason why they're 3-3 is because they beat the Broncos, the Packers, and the Patriots.
That's what's weird about this mixed bag sample of the Raiders this year. They're a tough team to judge because they actually, like you're saying, have overperformed on defense. And I think some of those random players, those depth players that we thought weren't as good last year are actually playing better. It's just not always translating to still wins and losses yet. And that's what makes this situation very weird. The last 2 games they've won, they've scored 21 points against the Patriots. Granted, 2 of those were on a safety because Mac Jones took a penalty in the end zone, or intentional grounding, I think it was, in the end zone, and that cost them the game. And then they scored 17 points against the Packers on Monday night. Granted, the Packers have a good defense, but still, the Raiders offense isn't exactly why they won that game either. And Josh Jacobs, who had a great game the last 2 weeks before that, struggled against the Packers run defense that's been horrible this year. So it's a very weird team to judge right now. And I think Davante Adams is definitely noting that kind of thing in the sample when it comes to him having only 74 yards in this offense the last 2 weeks. And whether he's still frustrated at the front office or not is another question. It definitely could lead to him getting good value at the trade deadline if the Raiders decide to move him. And maybe that's the direction they look in. They're winning right now without him with defense and I guess this unconventional type coaching. I don't think it's a good decision, but because they're doing it against the Packers and the Patriots and the Broncos, 3 horrible teams in themselves too. The Packers are an offensive not good. Defense is okay. And the other 2 teams might be 2 of the worst teams in the NFL right now.
I cannot see Davante Adams getting traded at the trade deadline. I think they'll wait until the offseason. They can get more for the buck. I do not see Davante Adams getting traded right now. And right now, the Raiders are moving towards a playoff spot. I mean, they're 3-3. They're fighting for a playoff spot. So there's no way Davante Adams is getting traded. But Josh Jacobs will not be there next year. That is pretty much sold to us that he will not be there. He is not going to decide to re-sign with them, even if they offer him a contract. I think he wants out. He doesn't believe in Josh McDaniels. He doesn't believe in the Vegas Raiders. And I think the Vegas Raiders are now going to rebuild again. With John Gruden rebuilt this team. This team was a borderline playoff team. They actually made the playoffs with Gruden, and they should have won that first game. I think it was against the Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken. Was it against the Cowboys?
The John Gruden? I don't remember offhand.
I do remember.
You're right. It was a surprise team, though.
Nevertheless, they lost that game when a lot of people thought that it was a terrible call by the refs, and it cost them moving on in the playoffs. But John Gruden was getting this team in the proper position to win. And then the whole thing with the Commanders and him getting fired, it changed everything. You bring in Josh McDaniels. It was a surprise. Nobody thought that Josh McDaniels was going to take this job. He didn't want to take the Indianapolis Colts job, which I'm sure he's smacking himself in the head. And he takes this job with the Raiders, and this has been an absolute joke.
Josh McDaniels and Jim Irsay, what could possibly have gone wrong there?
I think when you sit back and you wonder where Davante Adams is with his contract and who's going to be able to afford that contract. He's making between 26 and 28 million a year. He's the second highest paid wide receiver in the league, right behind Tyreek Hill. I don't know who is going to be able to afford it. I know everybody keeps bringing up the Jets, that the Jets will make a move for him. How are they going to fit that in their salary cap? They have to pay Elijah Vera-Tucker. They have to pay certain players in the offseason, Mekhi Becton, if they decide to bring him back. Is Laken Tomlinson, with the season that he's having right now, is he going to take less money to come back as a New York Jet and play for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets? I don't know. I don't see Davante Adams going to the Jets. I know Jet fans want to believe that. There are other teams that will have room or make room for him, but are they going to be playoff-bound teams? Everybody keeps talking about Baltimore. Does Baltimore have enough money to obviously pay a guy like Davante Adams $28 million a year? So there are teams that could be interested in him, but are those the teams that he wants to play for? Has he came out and said that he moved to Vegas because it's closer to his family? He left Aaron Rodgers, who's one of his best friends, to go and play for his best friend in Derek Carr, who's no longer the quarterback after 1 year with the Raiders. He's now playing for the Saints. Where do they go with this? And I think Davante Adams, he's a great player. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league, top 3 wide receiver in the league. But to me, it's alarming when you hear a player come out and say it's not about wins and losses, it's about greatness. That's alarming. If I was Josh McDaniels and I was running this team and I was the coach of this team, I wouldn't be happy that one of my best players is coming out and saying, it's not about wins and losses. It's not about the team. It's about me. It's about greatness.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's weird about this scenario, too, because the wins and losses have came for the Raiders amidst him not having those like stellar performances statistically himself. I think one of the 3 wins against the Broncos, he played great that first week, but Davante Adams' best performance of the season was against the Steelers, and they lost that game, I think, 19-10. And that doesn't bode well for, I guess, the identity of the team either. And the Raiders, think about it, they should trade him because you're going to get still max value. He was an all-pro player last year at 14 touchdowns and 1,400 yards. And he's clearly not happy with the direction that Josh McDaniels and, I guess, these new quarterbacks of evolving doors have come through because, like you said, they like Derek Carr. That being said, I think Davante Adams does want to stay in Las Vegas because it's a city that is a great nightlife style city, and like you said, closer to home. So it's a very weird scenario.
He was not happy that they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He was not happy. He came out. He didn't come out, but one of his friends came out and said that he was not excited that Jimmy Garoppolo was the starting quarterback for this team and this organization. And now all of a sudden he's come out and said that he likes Jimmy, that they have good chemistry. Meanwhile, his numbers are down, and he has come out and said that his numbers are down. He wants greatness. He wants this offense to run through him. But again, Josh McDaniels, he doesn't like to run through one player. As we saw Darren Waller, he completely disappeared in the offense last year when Darren Waller was at one point the guy and the number one target for this team before they brought Davante Adams in. And then Renfro was another big target when John Gruden was there. He has been a no-show. And when he is healthy, you don't even know if he's on the field.
Mm-hmm. And you look at the target share the last couple of weeks, too. He's had 11 targets and caught 9 of them, too. So it's not like the quarterbacks have necessarily let him down either. I think it's just more the coaching. It's like Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, who he's the GM, who he's had frustrations with in the past, too, clearly emphasizes these other guys more. And I think he definitely has some influence as well with McDaniels in this game plan, too. They're featuring a lot of the guys that came from the Patriots. Jacoby Myers had the big revenge game against the Patriots. And Michael Mayer is a tight end, second-round pick, finally stepped up the last couple weeks. So they're featuring those guys more in the offense, which I get to an extent, but at the same time, you're not only going to target Davante Adams 5 times in a game, too, and expect it to be sustainable. And again, it's not like they've scored these massive amount of points. If they scored 31 points on the Packers and Patriots defense with Davante Adams having small games, okay, they scored 17 and 21.
It's not good. They have not looked good. And the fact that they're 3-3 is pretty impressive for the season that they have looked to have. Everybody thought that this offense was going to be better than it is.
Right.
Josh Jacobs was one of the best running backs in the league, if not the best, when it came to numbers last year. He's not having the season that he had. Davante Adams was one of the best wide receivers in the league last year. He's not having the season that he thought he was going to have. And maybe that has something to do with Derek Carr, but Derek Carr is not having such a great season right now with the Saints, who, by the way, are 3-3 too. So both teams are fighting for a playoff spot. I think Derek Carr's in a better position because he's in an easier conference. You look at Jimmy and you look at this Raiders team, they're not in a good conference. They're not in a good division. And it's so wide open, yes. And they could go on a run. They could knock off some of these good teams. We've seen it. Hey, look, the Jets beat the Eagles. And then we've seen the Cleveland Browns knock off the 49ers last week. So anything is possible. But when it comes to talent and when it comes to an organization and how it's being run, you could tell that this organization is not being run right.
Right. And you can't trust +9 point differential against 3 really bad teams to be able to judge the landmark of a season either, and to judge the landmark of the way you're developing your team too, because Davante Adams is somebody that you have for 4 more years on this kind of contract. So if you want to be able to make that kind of thing work, you either have to trade him and for McDaniel's system, you either have to trade him now and get maximum value of the types of players he's going to want, or you're going to have to make it work in that kind of offense. Otherwise, you're going to get disgruntled. And when a player gets disgruntled, you're going to get traded for less value. And that's not going to hurt your team either when your team is so far behind.
There's a lot of questions on where Josh McDaniels is going to land next year, because he might be fired at the end of the season.
Right.
Because this team, if they don't make the playoffs again this year, which they're probably not going to make the playoffs, right, because the AFC is so wide open and their schedule only gets harder. I think when you sit back and you wonder where this organization is going, they look like they're going towards the garbage. And Davante Adams is going to force his way out. He doesn't want to be there. And when Josh Jacobs is gone and they have to hunt for another running back, or they bring in a free agent running back, maybe a Saquon Barkley, what would be the point of that? Because, hey, they don't want to pay their young running back in Josh Jacobs, who is, 4 years younger than a guy like Saquon Barkley. So that wouldn't make any sense. So then you go into the draft again looking for somebody and have to rebuild. And I can't see Davante Adams being happier staying with a team that's trying to rebuild with a coach that doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
So,
and again, you look at McDaniels, he should be gone in theory, because even if the Raiders do compete this whole season, like, again, it's very fluky the way they're doing it right now. It's just very hard for that kind of thing to be sustainable long term. The Raiders are in a very tough spot because of Josh McDaniels' ego taking over, and so far Dave Ziegler's ego taking over, combined with an owner and Mark Davis that doesn't know what he's doing either.
well, Josh McDaniels is not going back to the Patriots next year, even if he does get let go, because guess who is the offensive coordinator over there? That's O'Brien's spot. So I can't see him shifting out O'Brien unless he gets a coaching job, or maybe Bill Belichick retires or gets fired,
right,
and then O'Brien moves over there and Josh McDaniels becomes his offensive coordinator. I don't know how that's going to work. And if he does get fired, I think teams are going to start to look at Josh McDaniels as a failure. So why would they want to bring him in as an offensive coordinator?
All right, we got Kenny on the phone.
Kenny, what's up, bud?
I called to ask for some help. I haven't done a show in a month. You know, anybody that has an hour free on Sunday, affiliated with the network or not, that doesn't have a big family like all of you guys.
So you want to do it on another network?
What?
You want to do your show on another network?
I think he was saying he wants people
No. I'm
network
saying I
to
need
come
help.
here.
Like, you know, somebody that wants to come on the show.
I don't know.
affiliated with the network or a friend of yours.
Maybe I will. Maybe I'll ask somebody, and maybe I'll talk to you
Yeah,
off air.
because people say they want to do the show, and then when I follow up, like, hey, you said you come on this week, no response.
Kenny,
or,
I think,
oh, sorry, man, not this week. I can't do it. And then it's like, great.
Kenny, I think you need to send them a gift. I think you need to send them. I think you need to send them a gift. I think you need to send them some wax. Let them smoke a little bit. Let them get a little high, and then we'll be right on
Some
with
of
their
these people
robes.
don't get high.
Oh, all right. So
All right,
get
then
them drunk.
go send them a painting of with their body with a sign slashed through them and said
Or there's
MIA.
people that I just met recently, so, you know, they don't know me that well yet.
You go to a lot of art shows, don't you?
Not so much. They got open studios like every year, and I don't go to that many others.
Yeah. Well, do any
Unless
of those?
I go bigger art town, then I might, if they're having like, oh, we're having an open studio right now. I was just walking by. That might happen.
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever smoked with an artist?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I usually try and promote the art and talk to them, and they're usually all about business at these things.
Have you ever smoked with a goose?
No, they're not human, so that's not going to work.
Well,
And plus,
you never know. I think a goose could
getting them high is kind of
what?
Not a cool thing
Well,
to do.
maybe you throw them
it's a
some
form of abuse.
Getting a bird high is a form of abuse. Why?
Yeah, it's you're drugging an animal. It's something
They drug themselves anyways. What do you think they do? They're trying to find a way to get high or get hungry. I mean, they're hungry. They're trying to find their scavengers.
On Kick, we'll be doing. It's a new platform, IRL Spy. Won't be chasing birds. They might have a rule against that too.
How about beavers? Would you chase a beaver?
I've only seen one beaver once, so probably not.
Well, would you chase Mike from Bayshore? He's a beaver. I mean, seriously. I mean, would you chase
And
Mike?
hey, on another note, it's getting close to that dinner.
Yes, it's getting close to that dinner. That's right. We are there, my friend. We're still waiting for Brandon Jacobs to respond to us, by the way.
The ghost of Brandon Jacobs.
What's going on? What's going on with Brandon? I think he
Well,
realizes
I'm still waiting for two tours
already
to
lost.
end. Where I asked to interview two musicians. I'm waiting for their tours to end, and I'm waiting for a couple people. One person to call me back, the guy that left Murphy's Law, and I'm waiting for one other person to pick up the phone. So I'm waiting for interviews, and nobody's getting back to me yet.
Well, we will get you
On
some
my
interviews.
main YouTube channel. So yeah.
Please, whatever you do, do not have anybody in their bathrobes on the show. Please don't do that. Okay.
No.
I mean, it's definitely
Why not do that?
Well, you've been doing it, man. Do you think I want to see a naked guy in a bathrobe talking
that
sports?
was one guy. I'll make sure no bathrobes of it. Before
I mean-
you turn your camera on, please no bathrobes. It's already been made a rule. It's already been made a rule.
Well, what do you think about your Giants? Do you think the Giants are having a good season?
No.
What do you think the problem is with the New York Giants?
Well, I saw in the last game that people catching the ball, that's a problem in that game. And the last time, maybe it wasn't the guy catching the ball, a better throw and make sure people aren't covered. Maybe get that down.
Are you drinking tonight, my friend?
No.
Are you smoking?
maybe earlier, but I'm not that high now.
No, not that high. Are you smoking tonight?
Sometime more sober like you guys.
Oh, well, we are sober. Are you smoking tonight before you eat dinner?
Possibly. I haven't eaten yet. So.
All right. So, what are your plans of eating tonight? Are you going for a hamburger? What do you have?
No, I got. They made chili with mac, the Campbell's people, so I'm gonna hit that.
Do you know the song for the
eating?
commercial? I don't know yet. We might do something after the show, but we usually go and get half-price appetizers at Applebee's. We've been doing that for the last couple of weeks, watching the second half of the football game. But we'll see, my friend. But I just want you to know, we love you. Stay safe and do not drive high, okay?
All right, I don't drive, and keep your lookout for somebody that might want to be on the show.
I will talk to you about it, okay? We'll talk off air. Thank you, Kenny.
All right. Thank you for taking the call.
Absolutely. Kenny Rayner, ladies and gentlemen, the guy that chases geese. And he's
won't
only
get him high, apparently.
And he's only seen a beaver one time. So maybe we should send a picture of the beef. What do you think?
I think he'd rather look at a real life beaver.
Really? Why do you think
it is Kenny?
Do you think the beef is an ugly guy?
It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with
do you
Kenny.
find
it has nothing to do with me? It has everything to do with
find
Kenny.
the beef attractive?
Yes, I'm thinking if I was Kenny.
Do you feel find the beef attractive?
I am anticipating the mind of Kenny right now. This is about Kenny.
Oh, I'm just asking you, do you find the beef attractive?
It has nothing to do with me.
You see, you won't even answer the question. So the answer
I
is
am
no.
judging from the perspective of Kenny.
But I'm just asking you, if you were a girl, do you think the beef is attractive?
I don't know.
So the answer is no. Okay, so there you go. The beef is not loved by Speedy. The Cardinals announce that Kyler Murray returned to practice for the first time since his tear, and he teared his ACL December 12th. Jonathan Gannon says he was very curious to see Murray on the field for the first time since he's been hired as the head coach. There were rumors that Gannon and Murray weren't seeing eye to eye early in the offseason. Ian Rappaport reports that the Cardinals expect Murray to play plenty this season. Murray has 4 more years remaining on his 5-year, $262 million contract he signed last season. The Cardinals have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft, and there was a lot of belief they were going and trying to tank for Caleb Williams before the season started. And I still believe they're trying to tank for Caleb Williams. And who's to say that Caleb Williams is going number 1? Because Bo Nix is a guy that people like. There's quite a few quarterbacks going into this draft class that people really, really like. May is another quarterback that people have said and spoke highly of. And I know last year when we were talking to Jeff, he said that this quarterback class could be the best quarterback class in a very long time. But we've heard this already, and we've seen this before. And some of these guys become absolute horrible quarterbacks in the NFL. But again, going into the offseason, there are a lot of talks that Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 pick. But as we know, Chicago has 2 picks because they have Carolina. They have Arizona that has 2 picks. There's quite a few teams that are going to have multiple picks in the first round. So we'll see what happens. But I will say this. If Kyler Murray loses his job in the offseason, they do draft a quarterback, or he has to fight for the quarterback position in the offseason because they're going to bring in a young star quarterback that's going to take over for him in the future. If I were Kyler Murray, I would look to maybe play professional baseball, because there are quite a few teams in the NFL, if he becomes available, that could be looking for quarterbacks in the draft. They don't want to pay or take on a $262 million contract. And you look at the teams that have availability for quarterbacks. You have Chicago, the Giants, if they decide to part ways with Daniel Jones after next year. There are not a lot of teams, maybe Tennessee. There are not a lot of teams that are going to be paying a quarterback a 4-year, $262 million contract. You look at the quarterbacks, there could be 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round this year, maybe 6. So why would they spend the money to pay Kyler Murray, especially Kyler Murray in the last year and a half? He has not looked good in the field. He has not worked very well with his team. Half his teammates can't stand him. on and off the field. He speaks in a third person. He thinks he's better than the team play. And that's a big problem. That's why I believe Jonathan Gannon doesn't want him there. He says that he believes that Kyler Murray is going to play a lot in the second half of the season. What does that spell for the Cardinals? Does that make them a playoff team? Does that make them a contender? And if I was Jonathan Gannon, would I want Kyler Murray to be on the field when I'm trying to get one of those quarterbacks in the top 10? I wouldn't. Why would I want Kyler Murray to come back? To see what you have with him? To see if he can run your offense? We already know that he doesn't like you. We already know that he doesn't want to play your offense. You have a competent quarterback in Dobbs that has played well. So where do you go from this? And I like Kyler Murray. I have spoke very highly of him over the years. I thought at one point he did deserve that extension. He was an accurate quarterback, had great accuracy. He can move inside and out of the pocket. He's one of the faster, more accurate running quarterbacks in the league. You sit here today, you don't know what you have with Kyler Murray. He might slow down. He tore his ACL. He's small. We see what Bryce Young is right now as a quarterback in the NFL as the number one pick. Kyler Murray is also a number one pick, but Kyler Murray is a lot faster and more athletic than Bryce Young is. If this injury takes away his athleticism, you sit back and you wonder, what do you have with Kyler Murray as a quarterback? His strength is his athletic ability. Now you sit here and you wonder, is he that good? Could he play in the NFL for 10 years, 10 more years? Russell Wilson, he hasn't been the same quarterback ever since he left Seattle. He got an extension from the Broncos. Where do they go with Kyler Murray? Who's going to take on this contract if they decide to draft a quarterback of Caleb Williams' talent? That's the problem right now, and these are questions that only the Cardinals and Gannon can answer.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Kyler Murray, with Jonathan Gannon coming over, bringing that Eagles-type offense to Arizona, because he brought in a couple of the offensive staff members from the Eagles too. In theory, you would think that would be something that if Kyler Murray's athleticism, obviously it's not going to be completely there because of that kind of injury, but is at least 90% there, you would think that kind of scheme would be able to help Kyler Murray out too. Jalen Hurts coming over, having that near MVP type season, and Gannon brought over a couple guys, the offensive line coach and the wide receiver coach on that staff with Arizona. So maybe that kind of thing could create similar concepts like they have in Philly too. And maybe that's what they're going to try to experiment, because obviously they're not going to be able to trade Kyler Murray at the trade deadline because it's 3 weeks away, because there's no guarantee he even comes back in 3 weeks. He was just cleared to practice anyway.
I could see the Cowboys making a move for Kyler Murray, but do they have the money? Do they have the money? And Dak Prescott, he's still under contract. He's going to get paid almost $69 million guaranteed next year, so they can't move Dak Prescott. Will they have enough room to bring in another quarterback to back up Dak Prescott? They brought in another young quarterback, that Trey Lance, who to me is going to be a free agent next year. I do not believe the Cowboys are going to have enough money to bring him back. So there's no way they're going to be able to bring in a guy like Kyler Murray unless they trade Dak. And who's going to take Dak Prescott $69 million next year?
Right. And again, the other thing is how well Kyler Murray is going to be able to come back to level that kind of contract to get any kind of trade value. Because you're right, it's going to be in the offseason no matter what. And you have to have that right kind of team that's going to be able to take it on and feel like they're going to be a quarterback away. And that's what makes this scenario so difficult. Same kind of thing with all the Giant fans that want Daniel Jones traded. Like you're not just a quarterback away and you're trying to sell him on a low. It's going to be very hard to do that if Kyler Murray does not come back to that same form. So trying to maybe rush him back when he was supposed to come back in November type thing is an interesting decision. Now, again, he's just practicing. Maybe they are trying to see what he has in this type of offense before they'll play him. Maybe they will have him come back in November, but it's still tough to tell. And you also look at the Cardinals having 2 first-round picks. If Kyler Murray still plays well and the Cardinals are still drafting kind of early, they could consider the same kind of thing with trading those kinds of picks or drafting Marvin Harrison. Like there's definitely other options there. It's just interesting to see that the Cardinals are bringing him back in this time and trying to do it now when you don't know the athletic risk. Because like you said, he is smaller and he's coming off not just an ACL injury too. He had a couple other injuries before that as well.
But the ACL injury, and usually on turf, it usually turns to an Achilles injury. When one goes, the other one goes too, eventually. So I still look at Kyler Murray. I don't know if he's going to be the same athletic quarterback that we once saw him to be. So it might slow him down. And we've seen Russell Wilson. He's not the same quarterback. Ever since he hurt his thumb, Russell Wilson has not been the same quarterback. He just hasn't been. So again, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but again, athletic ability changes as you get older. And when Kyler Murray, he is an accurate quarterback. He has a good arm, but it still worries me when you tear your ACL, if he's going to be as athletic as he was. So that's something that you have to sit back and wonder, and watching him for the rest of the season when he does take over the quarterback position, if he's going to be the same quarterback and same dominant force that he was when he was drafted. Yahoo Sports reports that 2 of Michigan's opponents have told them that Michigan has been stealing their signs. The report, they said that Michigan hired outside people to attend games in order to gather information and signs of future opponents. Sign stealing electronically in any form is prohibited by the NCAA rules. Scouting opponents in person has been prohibited in college football since 1994. Clemson had been investigated for the same violations in 2020, but no evidence was found. However, Justin Fields was huddling more often when playing Clemson in the playoff game versus Clemson. Michigan is undefeated and currently number 2 in the country, and still has to play number 7 Penn State and number 3 Ohio State this season. I don't know how true this story is, but usually when this comes out and other people from other teams are speaking about Michigan and stealing signs, usually there is some kind of truth to it. And if the NCAA finds it to be true, this is the second strike in back-to-back years that Jim Harbaugh and his staff has been cheating. What does that say about Michigan? And what does that say about if they win a national championship? And they could win the national championship, and they find out that this story is to be true. They can lose their national championship. Ask USC, ask Pete Carroll. Cheating does not work in the NCAA. In the NFL, they try to hide it. We all know what Roger Goodell likes to do. He likes to burn tapes. He likes to make excuses for owners and GMs and coaches. Why? Because he's protecting the brand. The NCAA, they don't give a crap about anybody but their brand. And all these executives and commissioner are making millions and millions of dollars, including the coaches. And now you see with everything that's going on with the NIL deals and everything, college football is trying to protect their brand. They're trying to protect themselves from all these different stories that are starting to come out in the open. Coaches are now available to offer players a certain amount of money. They can, if they want to scout a player and they're offering them $1.5 million to come and play for their team, they can get away with it now.
Mm-hmm. And you also look at the layers of college football too. It's a lot different than the NFL, where the NFL has only the team staff available. College football, you have the team staff, which a lot of the team staff are the main guys being investigated from the Michigan facility too. You also have the Big Ten conference members too, which are also going to get involved with this kind of thing. And then you have, like you said, the executives, the College Football Playoff Board, that have already been investigating that. So all these outside sources that could come from Michigan could all be stemmed in many different spots too. And that's what makes this very fishy in itself too, because there were other instances last year where Michigan was being accused of that same kind of thing, but they didn't know. And that kind of thing now being transferred into this year too. Michigan State, who they're playing against this week, was one of the teams that was very suspicious of them last year. Now, obviously a new coaching staff because of all the gross things that Mel Tucker did. He's not there anymore, but still this new staff is already investigating them this week as well. Now, the NCAA said it's not going to impact their game this week, but who cares? They're going to probably beat Michigan State regardless.
Listen, if anybody believes the NCAA is really looking deep into this, they're not. Right now, they don't care. They really don't. They care about the season. They care about the money that they're bringing in and the ball games that is going to bring in, the TV deals that they're going to have with the SEC championship and the Big 12 championship and all the different things that they're going to be pulling in millions and millions of dollars. As a matter of fact, the NCAA has brought in more money last year than the NFL. You heard it. The NCAA brought in more money last year than the NFL. That's how big college football has become. And that's the difference right now with betting. People are betting on college football games more than they're betting on NFL games because it's still open and you're bringing in more opportunities to bring in more money betting on college football.
And you also mentioned Jim Harbaugh, too, already having now a second stride after the recruiting violation. Obviously, he was suspended the first 4 games of the year. And that kind of thing could cause him to lose that kind of reputation when it comes to 1, recruiting, and also 2, the transfer portal. Now, he's still a great coach, and Michigan is still a great program where they're going to get players anyway. But now with USC and UCLA also coming to the Big Ten next year as well, and all these other Pac-12 realignment things, it's going to create a lot harder of a scenario for Michigan where it might not be as easy as people think to be able to get that kind of thing. And they could be suspended where, again, if they have the program infraction coming to them, those wins are going to be vacated for one thing. And also, 2, if they are found in that season, those wins are going to end up being vacated too, where they could become ineligible for bowl games and obviously ineligible for the college football playoff in that case too.
And I do believe this might transition Jim Harbaugh to go back to the NFL. Because if these stories do come out to be true and the NCAA sanctions them next year where they can't play in a ball game or they can't play in the championship game, why would he come back? What, by the way, it's going to hurt his recruiting class. It's going to take some of his recruits to decide, hey, you know what? I don't want to play for Jim Harbaugh because I have no chance of winning a championship or a national championship. I'm going to go back into the portal and I'm going to go to the team. I'm going to go play for Deion Sanders. I'm going to go play for Nick Saban if he comes back or whoever. Because why would I go back and play for Jim Harbaugh when I'm not going to get a chance to play for a ball game?
And the other thing that's fishy about this, too, is because Michigan has a lot of funding within the athletic department, too. They're one of the richest ones in the country right now. We were talking about it with Texas A&M and Texas having it built into the football program. Obviously, Clemson and Alabama do. But if you look at collectively the athletic department for Michigan, they're strong in a lot of other sports, too. And that brings in a lot of money as a result. And being strong in football, undefeated in the regular season the last 2 years is going to bring in more. So they have the capabilities to have those kinds of audio and video extensive technology to make that kind of thing work. Now, I was wrong about this kind of thing with the Red Sox whole cheating scandal too. I thought because they had the funding too, they'd be able to leapfrog what the Astros were doing, and the Astros were caught the Red Sox.
That's professional sports,
right? But you have to believe with the amount of money that Michigan is bringing in, especially if there's other staffers involved and other boosters involved that know these outside sources. You have to believe there could be some kind of merit to them, and that could cause a lot of jobs to be lost because of that, including Jim Harbaugh, who could be banned for something.
$17 billion college football brought in last year. $17 billion. The NFL brought in $8 billion, almost $8 billion. So you're talking about almost $10 billion more than the NFL. So when you look at the NCAA and the money that it's bringing in, and the coaches are making more money than regular NFL coaches. Go look. I mean, the highest paid coach right now in the NCAA, I think, is making between $13 and $16 million a year. So when you're making that kind of money, why would you want to go to the NFL? I think Jim Harbaugh is making what? And he took another contract. He extended his contract. I think he's making now 11 or 12 million. Right. Why would he want to go back to the NFL? But if he is sanctioned and the league and the NCAA decides to drop a sanction on him where he can't win a national championship or have an opportunity to win a national championship, why would he stay there? Right. So I believe that if these stories to become true and the NCAA looks at this at the end of the year, I do believe Michigan and Jim Harbaugh will part ways in the offseason.
Yeah, that program is going to get slammed for a while, too, if that ends up being the case, because you think about all the other NCAA infractions that have happened. We just saw one recently with Tez Walker, the wide receiver for North Carolina, who he finally won his case and got to play last week for the first time. And that was because of a recruiting thing with the transfer portal. And then we talked about Reggie Bush with him getting the money there. Those are not even on-field ones. This one is actually an on-field one that actually has impact on the game. You are spying on the other team's play calls, signs. Remember, these college football coaches, they hold up all these wacky signs too that are more elaborate than the NFL ones where they're promoting all these random companies on it too. Like you're going to steal all that. That actually has an effect on the game a lot more than trying to pay a little extra money to get a certain player.
ESPN's Tim Bontemps reports that James Harden has missed multiple practices with the 76ers and did not give Nick Nurse an explanation. Philly Sports' Kyle Neubeck says that the Sixers staffer told him he is stepping away from the team for personal reasons. ESPN sources believe that Harden is being absent from practice and is in Houston the last few days and is only the beginning of what he plans to do there. James Harden has said that he is been frustrated with Daryl Morey, saying he would never play for him or any team that he runs from now on. Daryl Morey called the Clippers unserious in trade talks after rejecting any trade talks centering around 25-year-old shooting guard Terrence Mann and 2 first-round draft picks. Morey also offered that the Clippers and James Harden Morey also offered the Clippers James Harden for Paul George straight up, which the Clippers immediately rejected. Multiple sources say that they don't expect Harden to play for the 76ers in the regular season and only reported to training camp because he anticipated being traded to the Clippers in that time. So here's what I'm going to say about James Harden. If you're a James Harden fan, you're not excited going into the season. If you're playing fantasy basketball right now, you do not want to draft James Harden because right now, in the position that the 76ers are in, they're going to sit on this. They're going to sit on James Harden, even if he doesn't show up, and he doesn't show up for the first 10, 15 games of the season. We already know that James Harden, when he's not showing up to practices, he's eating, he's getting fat, and he's drinking. That means when he does decide to come back, if Daryl Morey decides that he's not trading him, he's going to be out of shape. He's not going to be the same James Harden. And James Harden's getting older. He's 33, 34. He's not getting any younger, and you can see his numbers dipping. He's not the same dominant force that he was with the Rockets and even the early years with the OKC Thunder. And we all know what he did with the Brooklyn Nets. You sit here, and this is the problem with the NBA, and I'll say it again. The players run the league. If James Harden decides that he does not want to show up to practices, he doesn't care. What is he losing here? He's still getting paid. It's guaranteed. So what is he getting? Oh, they're going to drop a $5,000 fine that he is going, because every single game or every single practice he doesn't show up week in and week out, he's going to lose $5,000. $5,000 to $48 million that he makes a year. Do you think James Harden gives a crap if he's getting fined? He doesn't care. $5,000 to him is like $5. He doesn't care. Right now, he's going to force his way out of Philadelphia. He did that with the Nets. He did that with the Rockets. He even did that with OKC, even though he wanted to go back and play with Russell Westbrook and obviously Kevin Durant. But they didn't want him. They wanted Serge Ibaka. Remember that? Mm-hmm. They decided to keep the big man over James Harden, the 6th man of the year. And now you look at it, this has been going on in the NBA forever. It's really been going on for the last 10 years. And it all started with LeBron James, when he decided to part ways with the Cavaliers to go and play with his 2 buddies, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Now you see it. He forced his way out of Brooklyn because he didn't want to play with Kyrie Irving, and he had some problems with Kevin Durant. That was one of his best friends. He also played with one of his other best friends with the Rockets and Russell Westbrook. Did that work? He was close with, obviously, Chris Paul, too. Did that work? Now he's playing with one of the best big men in the league. And we all know what he has said about James Harden. If he's a me player, I don't want to play with him.
And it's a me player being evident in that trade, too, because James Harden, maybe 2 years ago, you would expect a lot more out of that trade. I like Terrence Mann as a player. He's a good, solid starter, good bench player. He's not that good. He's not, but he's not that type of player.
I would make that trade for a guy like James Harden. If Terrence Mann and 2 first-round draft picks are separating you apart for James Harden, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Terrence Mann is a guy who is a good 3-point shooter. He's a solid defender, but his most points per game production, I think, is 12 in a season. Like, it's not.
Well, he's also like a 4th or 5th option on the Clippers.
Which again, for that kind of role, he's a good 4th or 5th option as a starter, a 6th guy off the bench. You want to take it on that role of player, fine. That just shows how much value James Harden has dropped, for one thing, because of his attitude, because of his lack of a work ethic, because he gets overweight at the start of the year, and like you said, cause all this drama too. It just shows you that it's evident that teams don't want him to. Plus, James Harden's already being picky in the locations he wants to go to too. The Clippers already have a lot of big contracts on that team with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, both making about $45 million. They brought in Russell Westbrook as a cheap contract last year, but it seems like Russell Westbrook and James Harden, maybe they don't want to get along too. Maybe that's why they're a little skeptical to trade good assets for him too. The only other good young asset the Clippers have really to trade is Vika Zubac, who's a pretty good big man, but still, you're looking at a case of the Clippers not wanting that kind of thing for the drama that he's going to cause when you already have a lot of question marks on the team. And I don't blame them for not wanting to trade Paul George for James Harden straight up. Besides maybe passing and ball handling, there's nothing that James Harden does definitively better than Paul George on the court anyway.
And here's another thing to look at this. Is James Harden worth trading for if you know he's had problems with the 76ers, you know he's had problems with the Brooklyn Nets, and you know he's had problems with the Houston Rockets? So why would you trade for him? You're going to bring a cancer to your team that could hurt the chemistry of your team. Why would that work for the Clippers? Already they have a coach that I don't trust and two players that can't stay healthy, and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So you're bringing in another guy who, by the way, over the last couple of years can't stay on the court, has had problems with his ankles, his knees, and everything else, his fingers, his wrists. The guy's a crybaby. And to me, he is not a top 20 player in the league. Now, statistically on fantasy sports, he is, because he's going to give you rebounds and assists and scoring. But all in all, he shoots the ball too much and he ruins teams. I think Maxwell is a better player than him, and he's shooting more than he is.
And that's only because of volume that he's going to get those kinds of numbers at this point, because we've seen James Harden have some of the most inefficient shooting seasons in recent years too. Even his MVP year was still under 46% shooting too, which again, for that type of player, that's your peak in your MVP year, which I didn't agree he should have gotten it. I thought Anthony Davis should have gotten it that year, but even so, regardless, that's what he's relying on at this point in his career. But the role that he's going to take on and should have to take on at this point in his career is going to be that lesser type of thing. James Harden was a third option in the playoffs 2 years ago. Like you're saying, Tyrese Maxey outplayed James Harden in that postseason, and he
outplayed everybody on that team. He really did. Embiid was the only one that played just as well as him. Right. But Embiid's the go-to guy, and he's the big man. And by the way, if James Harden gets traded, or he parts ways with this team and decides not to come back this year until he gets traded, what is it going to say to Joel Embiid? Is he going to win with this team? And if I was Joel Embiid, I want out too.
Right. So James Harden has to realize that kind of reality is going to come to him. And maybe he's still trying to leverage any type of leverage that he has left in terms of the team he wants to go to. When he led the league in assists last year, or per game, 10.7 assists. I don't think he led in total assists, but 10.7 assists per game, still led the league. So I guess he has some kind of leverage there, but that means he has to be more of a true point guard if he's going to play for another team. He's going to have to touch the ball less, which he's not going to like, because he's not going to get that same level of volume because he likes to hog the ball, which has not helped him stay healthy though, because he's led the league in usage rate either. So
and he doesn't have a no trade clause like Bradley Beal, right. So he could be traded wherever they want to trade him. It doesn't matter. And by the way, because the players run the league, if he gets traded to a team, he could say, I don't want to play for that team. So it has to work for both teams before they make that trade. Because if James Harden, honestly, with the NBA, you don't have to have a no trade clause, but every single player has a no trade clause, because if they don't want to go there, if they get traded, they don't have to play for that team, and they will sit out for the rest of the season. As we heard Damian Lillard say, he only wanted to play for two teams, and then all of a sudden the Bucks snuck right under, and now you hear the Heat crying, complaining about it. Pat Riley's complained about it. Jimmy Butler's complained about it, because he goes to the Bucks, and everybody was surprised that he decided to go play with Giannis when everybody thought that he was heading to Miami. But guess what? He only has 1 year left on that contract. So after this year, Giannis could be on his way out with the Milwaukee Bucks, because he can opt out of that contract. And so is Damian Lillard. He could still go play for the Heat. And who wins on that?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned the Heat too, because James Harden was one of the other teams that, or James Harden mentioned the Heat as one of the other teams he might have wanted to go to probably in June, along with I think it was the Knicks, the Clippers, and there was one other team.
Thank God he's not going to the Knicks.
No,
I know there were stories coming out that the Knicks were interested in him in the offseason. That would have been a big mistake.
Right. But now, based on this story and based on what this rumor of the Terrence Mann and 2 first-round picks trade, you wonder if Miami could maybe think of that kind of thing as a good...
It would ruin that team.
I'm not saying it wouldn't, because obviously James Harden has been a cancer everywhere he's gone. But again, Miami has been the one spot that's been kind of stable amidst all these other things happening too. So maybe they try it. Maybe that's the only other thing that he'll be happy with. I don't know.
I think Miami will look to trade for somebody at the trade deadline this year. They're still a steady team. They're going to be one of the better teams. They're a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. They still have Jimmy Butler. He's one of the better playoff players. He's one of the best two-way players in the league. As long as he's healthy on that roster, they have a chance to win. And they have guys that can help them win. And they're very well coached. They have the best. Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. Yeah. But again, the problem right now lies to where these players believe they are with the NBA. They believe they're bigger than the team. They believe they're bigger than the owner. They believe that they have control and they have the neck of the commissioner. And by the way, Adam Silver could sit back and say whatever he wants, that he controls the league and that he's all about, working with the owners and getting the league back on top of all the different organizations like the NFL, like the MLB. The one thing I could say right now is the players are more popular in the NBA than any other sport. But does that sell to teams and organizations and the NBA when they know that the players are bigger than the league? And if they're getting bigger than the league, it's going to only hurt the NBAs, and it's going to build endorsements, but it's going to hurt the fact that these players can go wherever they want and ruin the league and the potential of the growth of the league.
Right. There's definitely no doubt that James Harden actually thinks he's better than he is. But I also think for Miami's sake, like, you look at them needing a lot of offense, and you look even at the playoffs, even throughout the regular season, there's a lot of games they had to win on defensive struggles. And there's an obvious reason that they were interested in Damian Lillard, and obviously Damian Lillard was interested in them, but it also fits Pat Riley being very stubborn in these trade talks too. Like, you're already seeing the Clippers have to allegedly sell short with the Sixers. Daryl Morey gets mad at the Clippers saying, oh, they're going to take it on seriously. It kind of fits what Pat Riley was trying to do with Damian Lillard, and maybe they can get that kind of thing to work. And also Miami just needing the offense. And if there's anyone that could give discipline to Pat Riley, or at least Pat Riley giving discipline to James Harden to be stubborn with him to get something to work, it might be him.
I do not believe Pat Riley will bring in James Harden. He will ruin that team. He will absolutely affect the growth of even some of the youngsters that are part of that organization. Look at, he goes over to Philadelphia. It's hurt the growth of Maxey. It's hurt the fact that some of these youngsters that they have on their bench, they have a pretty good bench. Philadelphia has some good young players, but we wouldn't know that because you have ball hogs like James Harden on that court. And Embiid, I'm sure, is not a big fan of James Harden. Most people aren't. His own friends in the league can't stand him. So what does that tell you about him? He should hang out with the Kardashians because they're nothing but jinxes. And right now, James Harden and Kyrie Irving, wherever they go, they're jinxes. And that's why they never got along, because both players think that they're bigger than the team. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has been the problem with Ben Simmons over the last couple of years too. It's all about the players now. And we all see it. The jersey, it's the name on the back. It's not about the name on the front of the jerseys. It's not been that way since the 90s. And I've been saying that over and over again. And the NBA is growing, and everybody says all the endorsements and the TV deals that they're getting and all the different deals that Adam Silver's bringing in. Me and you could bring those deals in. It's a professional sport, and professional sports organizations are growing astronomically. So you sit here today and you look at James Harden and you wonder who James Harden is as a player. We all know he's a me player. Davante Adams is a me player. The league is all about me. It's all about LeBron. LeBron is bringing in all those endorsements. He's bringing in the Sprite deal. He's bringing in the Gatorade deal. He's bringing in the shoe deal. He's bringing in this. He's bringing in that. He owns this. He owns that. Before you know it, LeBron James owns the league. And he has owned the league for the last 10 years. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
At least LeBron stayed with his team for 4 years. James Harden has stayed with the Nets and the Sixers for a year and a half.
Yeah, here's the best thing about LeBron James. He's actually a team player.
Yep.
Even though he's a me player, he's a team player. He wants everybody around him to be just as good as him. And that's why he passes the ball. And that's why he does what he does. And that's why he's one of the best ever to play the game, because he's not on the court a me player. Outside the court, he's all about me, politically and astronomically. So I just think that the NBA needs to figure out what and who is running this league. Because to me, it's not Adam Silver. It's not the owners. And as I've said this over and over again, name me a sport in the last 10 years that had two owners be fired by the players. Name me a sport. We all know Schneider in the NFL.
Yeah.
But name me a sport right now, besides the NBA, that has had two owners in the last 10 years get fired. And the answer, none of them. None of them. And the reason why? Because if the players don't like the owners, if anything comes out of the owner's mouth in the past and it comes out throughout the press, throughout the media, they can force those owners out to sell those teams. And listen, they made mistakes. We all make mistakes. We say stupid things. We all do. We're in the media world. We speak. I've said some stupid things. Has it got me in trouble? Sometimes. Some people have reached out to me and attacked me. But nevertheless, I make sure that I keep it fair when I'm conversating about something. I don't talk about politics. I don't speak about religion. I know what's going on in the world, and I know what is affecting the world right now as a whole. And when you have players like LeBron James that obviously think he's bigger than the league and bigger than, everybody else in the world when it comes to media, that's a problem. That is a problem. Look at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. Okay? Ever since Taylor Swift came into Travis Kelce's life, it's all been, the NFL has been Swifties. Who's a Swiftie? Oh, Taylor Swift might be at the Jet game. Taylor Swift might be at this game. Taylor Swift might be at that game. Oh, she's going on a tour. Is Travis Kelce going to go with her? Travis Kelce was at the Philadelphia Jet game. I wonder if Taylor's there. It's amazing how one person, because she's a media frenzy type of person, that it could change everything for the league. If anything, Taylor Swift becoming Travis Kelce's girlfriend has helped the league this year. Crazy to say that, because now you have kids, girls that are not even football fans tuning in and watching the Kansas City Chiefs play because Taylor Swift is watching the game.
Always going to be popular with celebrity couples, and even more so in the NBA, where that's all they talk about because every Kardashian and Jenner wants to date them.
The New York Post, Stefan Bondy, reports that the Knicks have been keeping their eye on availabilities on certain players, including Karl-Anthony Towns. Bondy also added that despite Towns and Thibodeau not getting along in Minnesota, Thibodeau would welcome coaching Towns again. Towns will make $36 million this season, and then a new contract of 4 years, $224 million will begin in 2024. Last season, Towns had 20.8 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game, and 4.8 assists per game, with a 49.5 field goal percentage and a 36.6 percentage at the 3-point line, and an 87.4 free throw percentage. In his career, Towns is averaging 23 points per game, 11.2 rebounds per game, 3.2 assists per game, with a 52.6% field goal percentage and a 39.5 3-point percentage, and an 83.5% free throw percentage. Towns is 27 years old and is entering his 9th year in the NBA. First of all, if you're a Knicks fan and all these players that could become available at the trade deadline or even in the offseason, is Karl-Anthony Towns the guy you really want if you can get Joel Embiid? You can get the Greek Freak if he decides to opt out of his contract with Milwaukee at the end of the season, which he could. Or trading for a guy like Devin Booker, a wing guy who the Knicks have been craving to look for, a guy that could shoot the three, which the Knicks are one of the worst teams in the NBA at shooting the three. Is Karl-Anthony Towns the answer for the New York Knicks to be a championship competitive team, to compete with Milwaukee or the Celtics or even Miami? I don't know. I like Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he's a good player. He's been a good player in I'm sorry, I almost said Milwaukee, but Minnesota. Here's the problem. He's not a winner. Every single time the Timberwolves make the playoffs, they absolutely bomb. He doesn't play well. Edwards doesn't play well. This team doesn't play well. At one point, they had Zach LaVine on this team without Edwards, but Zach LaVine and talent from top to bottom. They were as good as far as talent is concerned than any team in basketball. You bring in Rudy Gobert last year and you thought, hey, that was the missing piece because they didn't have the defense in the middle. Karl-Anthony Towns is a good defensive player, but he's nowhere close to Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert didn't get along with anybody on his team. You look at this team right now, they overpaid for Rudy Gobert when it comes to draft stock and money. Now you have two big men that obviously don't work good together. You have Anthony Edwards, that's a great player, but let's be honest, in big parts of the season, even in the World Championship with Team USA, he did not look good. When the pressure is on Anthony Edwards or even Karl-Anthony Towns, these guys are not good players. So why, if you're a Knicks fan, why would you want Karl-Anthony Towns? Joel Embiid is a good playoff player. Joel Embiid has taken the Philadelphia 76ers deep into the playoffs. Has Karl-Anthony Towns do that with Minnesota? No.
And again, you look at Karl-Anthony Towns in terms of his coachability history. We thought the issue was with Tom Thibodeau at the time, but it seems like it's still kind of happening with some other coaches too. Now, I'm not saying Minnesota's coach is currently good right now either. I think, like Reno Johnny was saying last year too, like he's one of the worst in-game coaches. He's one of the worst coaches when it comes to management and stuff like that. And maybe it's not something that Towns has gotten frustrated with. But now you see Towns and Gobert not getting along. Gobert obviously throwing the punch before the playoffs too. Maybe it's partially him as well, but it's definitely not good for a team culture perspective too. Now you bring him back with Thibodeau, who's already had question marks with the Knicks team culture as a whole, with the Knicks young players. I just don't know if it's a match that you definitely want to pursue for multiple first-round picks you're going to have to trade, young players that you're going to have to trade too. I think there are better options for star players out there. I think the Knicks definitely need a big man for sure, but I think those are easier to find.
I don't know if they need a big man. They have Mitchell Robinson, who was one of the best offensive rebounders in the league last year. When he was healthy in the playoffs, he looked really, really good against Cleveland. When he got hurt at the end of the Cleveland series, he wasn't the same player against Miami. Now, I'm not saying Mitchell Robinson is a star, but he is a quality big man. He is going to give you those minutes, and he's going to do the things that you need a big man to do and be your anchor defensively. Karl-Anthony Towns is not an anchor defensively. He's an offensive player. He's an offensive big man who could play a little bit of defense. So it would scare me. And Rudy Gobert, let's be honest about Rudy Gobert. He didn't get along with Donovan Mitchell in Utah. Yep. He doesn't get along with anybody. So I am not surprised that we heard stories that he wasn't getting along with Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, or other players on that team.
Right. And you also look at the case of the Knicks right now. I think the Knicks have enough depth where they can make that kind of trade too. But if they try to swing it all for one player like Karl-Anthony Towns and it doesn't work for a chemistry perspective, you're really digging yourself in a bigger hole.
And by the way, Josh says Embiid never went to a conference championship. I never said that. I said he went deeper. He went deeper than the Timberwolves have. The Timberwolves have never gotten out of the first round. Philadelphia has. They made it to the, I guess, whatever you call it, the semifinals.
Right.
They've been there. They did lose against Toronto because of an unbelievable shot by Kawhi Leonard. I remember that. So to say, I do believe Embiid can win. You can win with Embiid, and he was the best player on the court for his team in the playoffs. Has Karl-Anthony Towns ever been the best player on the court for the Minnesota Timberwolves? No.
Not in a large enough sample to be able to trust for trading away that many assets in order to do that, too.
At one point, they were dominating against the Memphis Grizzlies. What was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah, they blew a 20-point lead in the third quarter.
I think they were up 2-0, I think, in that series. And then
they were up 2-1, and they were up 20 points in the third quarter in two different games.
And they lost. They lost that series against Memphis. Mm-hmm. So, and Memphis is not a good playoff team either. Go look at their numbers in the playoffs. Right. They've been absolutely horrendous. So, again, I'm not comparing, and I know what Josh is saying, Embiid in this, and I would rather Embiid. What I'm saying is I would take Embiid over Karl-Anthony Towns. I would take the Greek Freak over Joel Embiid. Right. So you have to look at what you're willing to pay for those players. And again, you have to give up something for Karl-Anthony Towns. You're not going to give up pennies for him. You're going to have to probably trade Grimes and Randall and other pieces, maybe even RJ Barrett in that trade to get a Karl-Anthony Towns. Is it worth trading away big pieces to your team and the growth of your team when you're one player away from bringing in maybe in a signing or a sign and trade in the offseason?
It's also easier, I think, to accumulate depth with big men, too, even if you don't have necessarily the star. I'm not saying every team is going to build like Milwaukee with Giannis or the Nuggets with Nikola Jokic. Like, you're not going to have to build, if you don't have that one big man type superstar, you can get away with that. But being that it's a shooting league now in the NBA, there's not a lot of big men that can shoot the threes very well if you have these either the European power forwards or the stars.
But hold on, Speedy. Would you rather a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, he can shoot the three. His career average is 39.5. Or would you want Devin Booker, a wing guy that could become available at the trade deadline if it falls apart in Phoenix, who his 3-point percentage is over 45%?
Right.
Would you want him or him? And that's where the Knicks have to look at it, because I'm telling you right now, the Timberwolves are looking to move Karl-Anthony Towns. If the price is right, they'll move him. And are the Knicks willing to trade away big pieces to bring in a Karl-Anthony Towns that could ruin the chemistry of this team?
Right. I also think that it's easier to find the depth of the big man for what Tom Thibodeau likes to do too, which he wants his big men to play defense. And he really has stressed a lot of defense. He got mad at them in the playoffs when they weren't playing good defense against Miami. He's even gotten a little bit pissed off at the defensive performance of the preseason, the effort. Like, that's the kind of coach that he is. And now, is he the long-term answer? It's tough to tell with Thibodeau.
He's not.
Because he's kind of a mixed bag in his Knicks coaching career.
This is his last year with the Knicks. If the Knicks don't make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals or even the NBA championship, he will be gone. They are going to move on from a guy like Tom Thibodeau. I know everybody thinks, well, if they bring the cat in, they're going to keep Tom Thibodeau. If they bring cat in, Tom Thibodeau is gone, because it's not going to work, because Karl-Anthony Towns is a baby. He cries about everything. Look who he's dating right now. Okay. I'm just telling you, he's all about the tabloids. And I like Karl-Anthony Towns as a person, as a player, to fit in New York. I know he grew up a Knicks fan. I know he's from New Jersey. I understand he wants to come home. I'd rather Donovan Mitchell. If you can make a move for Donovan Mitchell, I'd rather bring him in, because at least you know what you get with Donovan Mitchell. You don't know what you're going to get with Cat. That's the problem.
Right. I also think Karl-Anthony Towns, being that he's had these issues with, even after Thibodeau, some other coaches that Minnesota's brought in. I think they brought in, Flip Saunders' son, and then they also brought in the new guy they have right now. I forget his name. That hasn't coached well in the playoffs.
It didn't work good with Flip Saunders' son either.
I know that. And that's why I don't know if Karl-Anthony Towns necessarily is the guy that's going to have leverage to be able to pick out his own coach, either if the Knicks go in a different direction after this season type 2, because Karl-Anthony Towns still has a lot of left on his contract. Knicks are going to trade for him. They have to do it for the long term too. But I don't think he has that kind of right to get his coach that he wants either.
But I will say this, Leon is, he's a guy, he's a big fan of the Cat. Again, Leon Rose actually was his agent. So
right.
If the Cat becomes available, Karl-Anthony Towns becomes available, you know that he will absolutely make a run for him. But is it worth it? And if you're a Knicks fan, do you want Karl-Anthony Towns? Are you going to sit here and be happy if you trade away R.J. Barrett, Grimes, and Mitchell Robinson and 2 or 3 first-round draft picks for Karl-Anthony Towns? Are you a better team? That's the question. Are you a better team with Cat, with Jalen Brunson, and the other weapons that you have, and give away that type of talent that could go elsewhere, that could go over there to the Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert and form a better team that they have right now? I think the Knicks need to hold back on this, because there are quite a few other good players that could be available. I'm telling you, if the Greek Freak does not win a championship with Damian Lillard next year, he is gone. Damian Lillard's going to go to the Heat. Everybody knows that. He has 1 year left on his contract. He's not staying with Milwaukee. And now that Drew Holiday, one of his best friends, is playing for the Celtics, why would he stay there? He will opt out of his contract and he will go to free agency, and he'll go wherever he wants, because he already said he wants to play in a big city. And then Joel Embiid, if the Harden thing, stems up with this team, he knows he's not going to win. Nurse is a good coach, but he's not going to win with the team that he has. So what is he going to do? He's going to force his way out. So the Knicks could be looking at a guy like Joel Embiid, who I'd rather than the Cat. So I think the Knicks need to sit back, wait, see what happens. Devin Booker could become available if Phoenix bombs this. They don't have a point guard. And I've heard a lot of different people say, analysts say, name a team that's won without a point guard. Name a team in the last 10 years that's won without a good point guard. And the answer, none of them. So, and they don't have a point guard. We all know Bradley Beal's not a point guard. We know Devin Booker's not a point guard. And we all know Kevin Durant is not a point guard. So where are they going? Who is going to feed the rock to any of these guys? It doesn't make sense. They're both shooters. All 3 of them are shooters. It's not going to work. And I'm telling you right now, Phoenix is going to look to move players at the trade deadline. Kevin Durant is 34 years old. I don't think anybody's going to want him. And if somebody does want him, it's going to be a veteran team that could just bring him on, and he could be another guy and another factor. Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause, so he's going nowhere. The only guy that has no trade clause and is under contract right now for the next 3 years, Devin Booker, and he's the only player that people are going to want. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, our betting handicap part of our show, we call this segment Let's Parlay here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speeder. It's Speedy Petey time, baby. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week. All the listings are on our website. All you have to do is go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. We saw Reno Johnny come in. He disappeared off the face of the earth. Hopefully we get him back in. But we have Derek and we have Chazzy, Mr. Chazzy Moto himself, as we call this segment, Let's Parlay.
Parlay, ole, ole, ole. It's time for Let's Parlay.
Hey, Reno, what is going on, man? You're still driving. Where are you going now? Where are you heading?
I got a basketball game, man. I got to go hoop up on some youngins.
There you go. Game. He goes from football to basketball. What else?
Derek, can you get a live line on the Thursday night game?
Yes, I can.
That's my first play. My first play is Jacksonville, whatever points I'm getting.
-1.5 Jacksonville.
So it switched because it was the other way when I started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it
my
is.
first play. I wanted to get it in because there's 12:28 left in the first. In their last 5 games, for the first quarter, first half, second half, and game, 5 games, they've lost once against the spread. They've allowed 45 points in the last 5 first halves of their games. 45 points in 5 games. For you math-challenged people, that's 9. But Derek, you can't, right, Jonathan? You can't be math-challenged and be a good handicapper. It's just not possible. You got to have some math skills.
Listen, I was never good at arithmetic, and obviously algebra is probably the only thing I actually liked in school. So I wouldn't look at analytics and try to discover how I want to make a bet, because usually when I do that, I'm wrong. But I'm going to tell you this. Everybody that has taken my bets when it comes to the MLB playoffs, I've been dead on, and I'm still going to follow through with it. The Texans and Phillies will be in the World Series, and the Texas Rangers will win the World Series for the first time in their existence. Remember I said that. They will win the World Series. Just so everybody knows, you can take that to the bank. Bet on it, baby. And by the way, Reno Johnny, your team absolutely bombed in the playoffs.
Yeah, but they weren't alone. At least they weren't alone. They took the 3 other 99 win teams with them.
Boy, did they ever.
Yeah, the top 5 best records all left in the first, didn't advance in the round. So
either way, I predicted all that. So
see, that would be right there. That was a very, would you agree, very, very unusual, right? That's the episode of Back to the Future where you want to have the sports almanac the day before that happens.
Well, you should have listened to me, Chaz. You should have listened to me. I told everybody this was going to happen. Speedy, did I not? I said it before the playoffs even started, who was going where and what's going to happen. Nobody listened to me. So now, and by the way, I was at the bagel shop the other day, and I told the bagel guys, I said, the Texas Rangers will knock off the Astros. The Texas Rangers will go to the World Series and win. He looked like I had 6 heads on my shoulder. I said, when they win the World Series, I'm coming back here. You better give me free bagels for the year. Okay. I'll be fat, but at least I've made a point, ladies and gentlemen. I was right about the Texas Rangers and Bruce Bochy, who I think is the best manager in professional baseball. So let's go at it.
Well, one question. Derek, where are you physically as we
Austin.
speak? All right, so you get bagels there too. Jonathan and I don't get bagels, Because what you talk about as a bagel, you can't get here in San Diego. You just can't.
I'll send you bagels, okay? You want me to send you bagels?
There's businesses that make good money doing that. I actually buy lenders bagels because they're refrigerated.
Look at you. You're a bagel man. I'm going to call you the bagel man, okay? You look like it. You look like you're getting. Could we dye your hair blonde? I think you do look good.
Let me explain something. I'm coming off a weekend where I hit a 4-team first quarter 3-4 round robin and a 3-team round robin on the overs and unders. I went 5-2 in my plays, and my 2 best bets lost on the field. And yet I hit a 4. I bet like Derek does. Derek will bet freaking anything. And that's what I did. I bet a 4. I did a 4-team first quarter parlay that rocked it, and I did a over under parlay because and I picked the weekend. I really said I think, and somewhere it's on tape. They're not scoring points. The unders were 12-3 last week, so it's not like I was a rocket scientist. They were 12-3, and I had 3 of them together on one ticket.
Well, I will just let you guys know in 6 minutes, in the next 7 minutes, we're going to have Shane Greene. He's still a major league pitcher. He played for the Yankees. He'll be on the show. And then we have all-pro, past linebacker Keith Bulluck joining us a little bit later in the show, too. So you guys ready? You ready to get us your 4 picks and your parlay? We all know Chaz has one. We'll go with Johnny first, then we'll go with Derek, and then we'll go with Chaz. Go ahead, Johnny. Give us your number 1.
What I go last week? Just to
3-1.
To know.
3-1, buddy.
Georgia was his only loser because I bet the ticket.
No, Georgia was good. No, the 49ers were his only loser, getting upset by the Browns.
Well, did Georgia cover?
Yeah. No, he had Georgia money line. He was.
Money line. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have Georgia money. I had spread, so I went 2-2.
Yeah.
Oh,
Georgia didn't cover.
I wouldn't take a money line that.
Well, I only know because I bet your tickets. The only time I don't bet the parlay with Derek is if I can't get it. Some places don't let you do those things, together.
So I went 2-2. That's what I thought. All right. Yeah, let's go to Monday Night Football. Give me the Vikings. I'm gonna take the +7. I know they don't have Justin Jefferson, but I look at this Niners team is also really, really hurt. They got a lot of banged up guys, and I could see them being precautionary and sitting some people out, not trying to get hurt. They can look at this Vikings team, say, look, we're 5-1. We probably have enough to beat this Vikings team without CMC, without Debo. Let's get those guys healthy. And we kind of saw what Brock Purdy is without those guys. And he's mediocre, right? Which is what I think I've been saying since day one. He's not a great quarterback. He's a quarterback that's a benefactor of the system he's in and the players that play around him. I think the Niners need to get healthy. I think this is a season that they understand they're not going to push anybody back sooner because it's going to mess some stuff up. They can win a Super Bowl. I think the Vikings here in this spot, at home, Monday night, backs against the wall, must-win game. I think they should stay within the 7. I don't know exactly if the line's going to move at all, but I think if you can get the 7, definitely take the 7. Give me the Vikings, Monday Night Football, and they keep it close.
Reno, Johnny, Minnesota, take the 7. Derek, what's your first pick?
So I'm going to go Thursday night. The Saints are taking the field right now, so I'm not really cheating the game right now. I'm going to go with Kamara under 14.5 carries tonight. This one's easy. He's had 24, 25, and 26 touches in his 3 games back, respectively, since his suspension. A lot of that's coming through the air, but Jamal Williams is back. Kendry Miller's getting some work. Short week for a 28-year-old scat back. And the Jags' run defense has been really good. It's been a a pass funnel for teams that have played against Jacksonville. It's bottom 10 team against the pass. No Tyson Campbell on corner. Derek Carr gets rid of the ball fast. I think there's going to be a lot of pass attempts. It's going to be a lot of looks for Kamara in the passing game, but I think he's got to get 15 carries to hit this over. I don't see that on a short week. So give me his under carries, 14.5.
All right, Chaz, you already had your first pick. Reno, Johnny, give us your second pick.
Well, I'm going to stay on Thursday Night Football. Not cheating here. I think the Saints win the game. I understand that the Jaguars had one drive and they drove it down the field and they got a touchdown. Congratulations. I still think the Saints can win this game. Their defense is really good. Jaguars' offensive line really banged up. They're going to get that pressure to them eventually. I think they're going to be cautious with Trevor Lawrence. He's not 100% either. Anything can happen where he might aggravate something. Maybe I'm going to take the Saints. I think the Saints here at home, it's a tough place to play. I'll take the money line. I got it at minus 115 before kickoff. Now, if you're listening, go ahead and take it because live, you can get a lot of value on it. But Saints money line is my second play.
Derek, what's your second play?
Rachaad White, under 52.5 rushing yards. He has had a brutal schedule to start against good rush defenses. He's played against Minnesota, Chicago, Philly, New Orleans, and Detroit. The last three are all top 10 in run defense efficiency. And even Minnesota and Chicago are in the top half of the league, believe it or not, against the run. Doesn't get any easier this week. Atlanta has allowed the 7th least rushing yards in the league. And now I think White has found himself in a little bit of a committee. Last week, he saw 7 carries to Keyshawn Vaughn 6. I still think Rachaad White is the guy through the air. He's going to be the third down back. That is his role. But I think early down, it's going to be a little bit more of a committee between him and Vaughn. It's not a good matchup. So give me Rachaad White's under 52.5 rushing yards.
Chaz, what's your second pick?
Well, I'm just going to piggyback on that because I've only got 4 plays this week in the NFL. I've got a lot of first half shit and second half shit, but I mean for the game. And one of them is under Tampa Bay Atlanta, and he said under in the same game, so I'm going with Tampa Bay under Atlanta, my second play.
Reno, give us your third play.
Give me the the Los Angeles Chargers, right? Give me the Chargers. They took a tough luck loss against Dallas last week. Dallas defense kind of came to play. But they're playing a Chiefs team that they always play tough. They always seem to play right within that number. They covered both times last year. I think they split it last year. They got to go on the road, off a loss, kind of down and out on themselves. Kind of a must win if you're them, especially if you're Staley, who's I think is on the hot seat all year long. But they always play this Chiefs team really tough, and this is not a great Chiefs team. Their offense isn't as good as you would think it should be. You can see the lack of receivers, and even if the Chiefs do win this game, I can see it coming down to the last possession, a field goal, or downing the football. We all know the Chiefs don't care about the number; they're just trying to win games. Give me I keep calling San Diego Los Angeles Chargers plus 5.5. I waited. I thought maybe it could go to 6. I don't think it's going to go to 6 at all. I think if you wait, it's going to go down to 4. I think it's going to go the other way, so try and get it as soon as you can. Give me the Chargers plus 5.5.
Derek, give us your third play.
Going to Sunday night. I'm going to go with my Birds. Covering minus 2.5 against the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to buy the Eagles when a lot of people are probably selling their stock after that performance against the Jets last week. As Errol and Speedy know, that Jets defense has made elite quarterbacks look bad all year between Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts last week. I'm not hitting the panic button on this Eagles offense. This Miami defense has not looked good. And even against the bad competition that they've played against, they are bottom 10 in most important metrics. Their 5 wins have come against the Chargers, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Giants, and the Panthers, who are combined 5-24 in the year. So the one good team that they've played against, Buffalo, they lost by 4 touchdowns. Not saying that's indicative of them, but this is a step up in competition for Miami. I think Philly's going to beat them up in the trenches. This is the team that's first in time of possession and first in plays run per game. So they can keep that Miami offense off the field. They can slow down that machine that is Miami's offense. So Eagles minus 2.5 covering the spread on Sunday night.
Chaz, what is your third play?
I followed him right back. I'm taking over in the Miami-Philly game, baby. Go, Derek. Go, Derek.
All right, Reno.
And I'm not making this up. I only got 4 plays, and he's got 2 of the games I got.
All right, Reno, give us your final play.
Go to college football here. And the big question is Penn State for real? And I don't know. I don't think anybody knows because if you look at who they played, it's been real weird. They played Delaware. They played Massachusetts last week. They played Iowa to a 31-0 win. We know that Iowa's got 0 offense to speak of. I'm really confused of what to do. But if I look at this game, I like what I see from their quarterback. He hasn't turned the ball over at all this year. What's important is if he does, how does he bounce back? This is more of a play. I'm not really sold on Ohio State or McCord. I think McCord is a little tentative with his decision making. I don't think that this Ohio State team is as good as it's been in recent years. I think they're taking a step back overall. A good win against Notre Dame. I give them that. This is pretty much a statement win for Penn State for them to go in and at least at minimum compete. I think they do. I always say this and people think it might be weird, but there's a benefit to going on the road and playing an 11 a.m. kick rather than a 6 p.m. kick. The 6 p.m. night crowd on the road is just more electric. They get to catch Ohio State. Yeah, is it going to be fire? Is it going to be a lot of fans? Yes, but it's 11 a.m. It's a little different. I think that it might start off a little bit more sleepy, right? Which is going to benefit Penn State. They have a hell of a defense. I think their defense is much better than Ohio State's. But again, it's just really what you've seen from who they've played, and it hasn't been impressive teams. I'm kind of buying stock on Penn State that I think that this is the year they can go in and beat Ohio State. I don't know. Sophomore quarterback has me a little worried. However, give me the points. I got 4.5 with Ohio State on the number. I'm not going to take money line. I think it's going to be a close game.
Derek, give us your final play.
I'm tailing Johnny. That was my last play. I'm going Penn State with the points. This is James Franklin's best team since he's been in Happy Valley. So I think he smells blood in the water. Ohio State doesn't have Justin Fields or C.J. Stroud back there. They have Kyle McCord, who is fine. He's improved. He showed something on that Notre Dame game in that last drive to win the game. He showed something in the second half against Maryland, but a Penn State defense is a different animal. He is 15 of 42 on the season when he is facing a pressure. Manny Diaz blitzes more than most defensive coordinators in the country. I am going to back Penn State because they have the better quarterback in this matchup. They have the best unit in this matchup, which is Penn State's defense. I'm still a believer in that backfield between Singleton and Allen. And like Johnny said, I kind of think Penn State's going to go in there and win. I'm not going to be that bold, but we're over 2 key numbers here between 3 and 4. Give me the 4.5 points for Penn State to cover that number against Ohio State.
Chaz, give us your final play, buddy.
Yeah, just so you know, the last time Penn State didn't cover, Jonathan from San Antonio still didn't have a kid. That's how long it's been. They cover every single week. Buffalo. My last play is Buffalo. New England is terrible. Buffalo isn't as bad as New England, but New England is really terrible.
There you go. Boys, we really appreciate you as always. Derek, Reno, Johnny, and Chaz, we will see you in the trenches next week.
Good luck, guys. Always be catching.
Appreciate y'all.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, Let's Parlay. We're still waiting for Shane Greene. Is he coming in, or is he?
I've texted him.
All right, so hopefully we get Shane. We did speak to him in the morning.
Yes,
he did say he was
confirmed.
Coming on.
He said sound good. He was ready to go.
All right, so I hope he comes in before we get Keith on, because then we'll have to move Shane after Keith. That could happen. So we'll see. But why don't we do our Week 7 picks? How about that, Speedy? Let's
so
go for that.
First of all, what did you have for tonight? The Jaguars at the Saints. I had the Saints on the under.
I have the Jaguars.
All right, you have the Jaguars.
Uh-huh.
All right, so we'll go to the first game on Sunday for the NFL. And let me see. I'm just pulling up the games right now.
Yep.
We got the Cleveland Browns and the Indianapolis Colts battle of backup quarterbacks because obviously no Deshaun Watson and obviously no Anthony Richardson. I'm going to go with the Browns in this one. I think the Browns still have that defense you could definitely trust with the way they played last week against the 49ers. Granted, the 49ers had all those injuries, but still, I look at this Browns defense still being tough against the Colts, who've been just a little bit streaky. So I'm going to go Cleveland on the under.
No Deshaun Watson, no problem, ladies and gentlemen, because they're getting enough from the quarterback play, from the second string quarterback. I think his name's Walker. So he's played pretty well, a lot better than I thought. I mean, Ford ran the ball very well last week, 67 attempts, 270 yards, and 1 touchdown this year. Nick Chubb is gone. Hunt actually caught the ball a couple of times last week. They're going to eventually move him more into the offense, especially at the wide receiver play, wide receiving play. I like what Amari Cooper did last week, 22 receptions, 367 yards, 1 touchdown. They have to get Amari Cooper more into the offense. Elijah Moore needs to be added more into the offense. Only 21 receptions, 167 yards. I really like the Browns this week. I don't expect Gardner Minshew to have a very big game. He's played pretty well, 65.2% completion percentage, 882 yards, 3 touchdowns, but still 3 interceptions. Moss has been the better running back right now. He's been touching the ball more. Yes, more than Taylor, who got a lot of money a couple of weeks ago. 96 attempts, 466 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I expect them to move Moss at the trade deadline. They could get a lot back for him. Pittman's been very good, 4 receptions, 406 yards, 1 touchdown. I expect Indianapolis to stay close, but I have the Browns. You had the Browns on the over?
Under. I have them on the under 40.5.
It's 40.5?
Yeah.
I have the Browns on the money line. I'm just going to go Browns money line.
All right. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Chicago Bears. A great battle of Brian Hoyer versus Tyson Batchin at quarterback. 37.5 the over-under for this one. I just think the Raiders, like we were saying before, the Raiders are finding weird ways to win against bad teams right now. I trust their defense just a little more than the Bears. I think Josh Jacobs has a big game in this one to carry the load. And maybe Davante Adams actually gets targeted for once. I'll take the Raiders at a close one on the under.
Listen, it scares me that Justin Fields is not playing this week, and he might not play for the next couple of weeks with his thumb injury, and that's the big problem. I don't know if Jimmy's playing this week. It looks like it's going to be Hoyer, but I trust Hoyer more than the backup over there with the Bears. I don't even know who the backup of the Bears is. So that
He's
just
playing
scares
this
me.
week. I had to throw up somebody else with a practice squad.
It scares me enough to think that. I mean, Josh Jacobs will have a big game against this defense. I expect Josh Jacobs to have over 100 yards and maybe a touchdown in this game. Davante Adams, he's been speaking a lot this week. I expect him to have a big game. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. I think their big playmakers will make the plays. Jacoby Myers has been very, very good this year. I've been very impressed with him. 13 receptions, 335 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's had a better year than Davante Adams. It's crazy to say that, but I don't know what the Bears are. And I'll tell you this right now. They have not rushed the ball very well this year. And DJ Moore needs to be added more into the offense. He looked good 2 weeks ago. He didn't look good last week. They need him more in the offense. If they can get him involved, he had 32 receptions, 582 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He will break 1,000 yards this year. I want to see more of DJ Moore, but I don't believe we're going to see a lot in this game. I do believe the Raiders will win this game on the money line.
All right, the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. It is 41, the over-under. And like Chaz is saying, I just don't really trust the Patriots at all right now.
You can pick the money line too, you know.
Yeah, I think the Bills on the money line is definitely the play. I think they're due for a redemption type week. They kind of played down to the Giants last week offensively. I don't think they're this bad offensively. The Giants finally were able to rush the passer a little, I guess, but I think the Bills get a blowout in this one. So give me Buffalo on the money line.
I don't know what is going on with the Patriots, but I didn't think they were going to be this bad. Mac Jones will start this week again. I don't know why. I don't know what they're trying to do here. 64.2% completion percentage, 1,208 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. How many quarterbacks in the NFL right now have more interceptions than touchdowns? I don't know. Mac Jones could be one of very few.
Too.
No, I think it's Mac Jones and only Mac Jones. That's just me. But anyways, they need to get Stevenson more involved in this offense. He hasn't touched the ball enough this year. I thought Ezekiel Elliott would touch the ball even more this year too, with a dynamic dual with threat over there at the running back position. Especially they've been an all running team for the last couple of years. I need to see more running. And to me, I don't know where their wide receivers are going. They don't have number 2s. They probably have more number 3s than number 4s. They're just horrible in the offensive side of the ball. Defense needs to wake up, and they're going to have to stop Josh Allen, who has a 71.7% completion percentage, 1,576 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's been fantastic. He's starting to play pretty good football, and Stephon Diggs has been hot. 49 receptions, 620 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And yes, Gabe Davis is having a year in his final year of his contract where he's going to become a free agent at the end of the year. 21 receptions, 341 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I think it's going to be an absolute explosion. Give me the Bills on the money line.
All right, the Washington Commanders at the New York Giants. It is 39, the over-under for this one. Washington is such a weird team to decipher because they looked very good offensively against a good Falcons defense last week. The Giants look good defensively against the Bills, so it's really tough to tell which Washington offense you're going to get. But the Giants have actually played tougher defense since the second quarter probably of that Dolphins game, where I can actually trust them to win a weird one. Wes says it all the time. The NFC East has these very odd games. I'm going to take the Giants to win, actually, in a weird, wacky, ugly game. I'll take them on the under.
You know, it's so interesting when we've seen all season long Sam Howell, and I didn't think he was any good, but by the way, he has a 67.8% completion percentage, 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. He's played pretty good. Bieniemy is getting him to play, and he's playing very good. Brian Robinson has been one of the better running backs in the league. Last week, he didn't have such a good week, but nevertheless, I expect him to have a bigger week against the Giants. 77 attempts, 302 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And McLaurin is going to dominate this game. I think the Giants are going to have problems defending against him. 31 receptions, 342 yards, and 1 touchdown. I don't know where the Giants are going to go. Saquon Barkley will have over 100 yards. I expect that. All scrimmage yards. He will have a touchdown in this game, but will it be enough? Darren Waller, I don't know if he's 100% healthy, and I don't trust what they did last week to make it any more better this week with Tyrod Taylor again behind the helm. So I just don't think the Giants are going to win this game. Give me the Commanders on the money line.
All right, a game that will not be as ugly. The Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens. We got 42, the over-under for this one. 2 good defenses. I was wrong on the Ravens. I didn't think they would play as well as they have, especially with Marlon Humphrey hurt at the time. And Detroit's secondary has been a lot better than I would have expected to. The run defense has been, I think, the second best in the league so far this year. I'm going to take the Lions in this one. I think it'll be a tight game because the Ravens, I do think, will be able to run with Lamar Jackson. And the Lions offense was kind of, besides St. Brown, kind of down. So I'm going to take the Lions. It'll be a tight one. I'll take them on the under.
I'm going to tell you right now, it is going to be Ravenville. Right now, they're flying high. Detroit is flying high. They're 5-1. They're one of the hottest teams in football right now. I expect the Baltimore Ravens defense to show up this week. I think Lamar Jackson has one of his better games, 69.9% completion percentage, 1,253 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I expect the touchdown that he's going to run in. I think he'll have 60 to 70 yards running in this game. He's been fantastic when he does play at the top of his game. And Zay Flowers will have another touchdown in this game. For this year, he has 35 receptions, 367 yards, and 1 touchdown. And Mark Andrews will have a touchdown in this game. I know the Lions have been fantastic. Jared Goff right now is an MVP candidate. He's having a sensational year, only 3 interceptions. He's been unbelievable. David Montgomery could be a Pro Bowl player this year. He's been fantastic. 94 attempts for 385 yards and 6 touchdowns. And St. Brown has been fantastic since he's been back. 38 receptions, 455 yards, and 3 touchdowns with all the weapons that they have. They have Williams back. They have Reynolds playing good football. I don't know where they're going to throw the ball, but I've got the Ravens in this game on the money line.
All righty. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the LA Rams, 44, the over-under. That is quite a big one there for a Steelers offense that is not trustworthy right now. The Rams defense, again, like I was saying with the Colts, they've been good at spurts, bad at spurts at certain points. But again, this Steelers offense is really tough to trust right now. And the play calling, will it get better? One can only hope. But the Rams have done a pretty good job at stopping the run. They've done a pretty good job at stopping the deep ball. And I think that's going to make it harder for the Steelers in this game. Now, the Steelers will be able to rush the pass, so they'll be able to keep this game close. But I like with Cooper Kupp back, the Rams will be able to stretch the field. Give me the Rams on the under.
Yeah, I look at Matthew Stafford right now. He's having a pretty good season for a guy that didn't want to play with the youngsters. He's having a pretty good season. 61.2 completion percentage, 1,677 yards, 6 touchdowns. He has thrown 5 interceptions, but nevertheless, he's getting the running by Williams. He's a great find by them. 97 attempts, 456 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's going to break 1,000 yards this year, easy. Puka has been fantastic. He didn't have the last 2 weeks. He hasn't been doing much, but Cooper Kupp is having over back-to-back 1,000-yard, back-to-back 100-yard games. I think Cooper Kupp will have another big game, but I think Puka will have a better game this week. I think he'll have 70 yards and a touchdown in this game. I expect them to be explosive against a very good defense. I think the Steelers will be in the game. I'm not going to trust Kenny Pickett. He's not having a very good year. I want to see more of Harris. They need to give the ball. They need to feed Najee Harris. And George Pickens needs to be more involved in the offense. If they do that, it'll be close. I still have the Rams at home on the money line.
All right. The Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 38 the over-under for this one. The Falcons, like the Commanders, another tricky team to trust right now. You want to believe their passing attack has gotten a little better from where they were last week, but I also don't think the Washington Commanders are that great yet. That being said, Tampa's offensive line still is continuing to have their issues against the pass block, and the run blocking has actually been pretty good this year, but like Derek was saying, their running backs are still very inconsistent. And Atlanta's defense, I think, is still going to be good to trust. And I like their matchup against tight ends. Tampa's had trouble with tight ends. So I think both Jonnu and Kyle Pitts play well. So I'm going to take the Falcons in a close game on the under.
I really, really want to go with Tampa. And Tampa hasn't lost back-to-back games yet this year. They've been pretty good. They only have 2 losses. I like what I see with Baker Mayfield. And I don't like Desmond Ridder. I don't. His numbers are all right. He's still thrown 6 interceptions to 6 touchdowns. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. There's something about Baker this year. He's been fantastic. 65.4% completion percentage, 1,088 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I like what they've done with White, running the ball, 70 attempts, 232 yards and 1 touchdown. And with Mike Evans, who, the last 2 weeks hasn't been as good as it was the first 2 weeks of the season, but they still have Godwin. They still have a talented offense. And I think their defense is better than the Falcons. And I expect them to shut down the running game of Bijan Robinson and make them one-dimensional. So give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the money line.
All right. The Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks, 44.5. Seattle, again, like I was saying, with a lot of these offenses that have struggled last week, a very weird team to trust, but they've been good for the most part. And I still think their talent will get there at some point. They were bad in the red zone against the Bengals last week. I don't expect that to be the same thing. The Bengals are looking for that urgency on defense, that hunger. I think that was a good statement for them to turn it around. I don't think Seattle plays this bad again offensively, especially against the Cardinals defense that struggled in their secondary. Give me the Seahawks money line.
I don't think there's any argument. Kyler Murray is not going to be playing this game. If Kyler Murray was playing, it might be closer. And that's just because of his talent, and if he is the same Kyler Murray that we saw before he tore his ACL. But this is absolutely Seattle's game. Geno Smith lost last week. I don't see them losing back-to-back weeks. Their defense has played better over the last couple of weeks, even though there are some questions in the front over the last week and a half. So, but I like Geno Smith, 67.7% completion percentage, 1,172 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Walker is going to have a fantastic week. 83 attempts, 345 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I expect him to break 11 or 12 touchdowns this year. He'll have over 1,000 yards. This week, he'll have over 100 yards. DK Metcalf will play this week. I expect him to have a big week, even over Tyler Lockett. Give me Seattle on the money line.
All right, we're going to get another ugly one. The Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos. We got 45, the over-under for this one.
This is an interesting game.
This is an interesting game. Definitely 2 teams.
It is in Denver.
It is a sense of urgency with obviously the Broncos defense still not looking great. They looked better against the Chiefs, which I think could help their confidence a little bit. But again, the Packers defense is still going to make things tough too. And the Broncos, I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball at the same success level that you saw against with the Packers, with other opponents so far this year. I just can't trust it with Javonte Williams staying healthy. I think this will be a close game. I'm going to take the Packers tight, but I'll take them on the under.
Where is the Green Bay Packer fans now? Is Jordan Love the answer? Is he? Yes. Is he an Aaron Rodgers statement quarterback? The answer is, that's not happening this year. Listen, I like Jordan Love, but he's not having a very good year. 55.6% completion percentage, 1,083 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Last 2 weeks, he's been horrendous. 3 interceptions last week. He's just been absolutely disgusting. And I expect him to use his legs more this week to knock off the Denver Broncos, who's had problems stopping the run. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Dylan will have a better game. Is Jones playing this week?
It should be. He was winning last week.
I believe Dylan and Jones will be able to run against this Denver defense, as we saw the Jets do. I think Reed and Watkins will have a breakout game. I think he'll have 150 yards and a touchdown in this game. I don't know what the Broncos are. I know that Russell Wilson's had a better year. He has 12 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. It's crazy. Everybody's throwing him under the bus. He's had a pretty good year. 66 completion percentage and 1,305 yards. He's had a pretty good year. It's just everybody else around him sucks. So I don't know what this Broncos team is. I don't know what the Sean Payton offensive team is. Give me the Packers on the money line.
All right, the LA Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. We got 48 for the over-under. This one, again, Chargers defense, very difficult to trust right now. The Chiefs offense, they have a lot of receivers that have drop problems. So you have a little mixed bag of everything. And you looked at the Chiefs' red zone offense last week, still not being great. That could definitely be a factor. That being said, the Chargers have notoriously struggled with Travis Kelce, so I do think you'll have another big game. Now, the Chiefs have been able to run. The Chargers have been able to stop the run, which is more surprising. 2 surprises both ways. But the Chiefs' defense, I still trust a little more against the Chargers' offensive line that still has not been great, and a lot of players just coming back from injuries. Chiefs win it. It will be closer than expected. I agree with Reno Johnny. They cover. Give me the Chiefs on the over.
You know, it's so interesting with Patrick Mahomes. He's had a pretty good year, but not a great year. Is he, to me, an MVP candidate? I would say he's out of the top 5. But 68.3 completion percentage, 1,593 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I think Pacheco, to me, right now is a Pro Bowl player. 87 attempts, 387 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's been fun to watch. Patrick Mahomes, 29 attempts, 185 yards, no touchdowns, something that he was last year. I think at this time he had 2 or 3 touchdowns. He has had no touchdowns yet this year. Travis Kelce's the only weapon they had. They added Mecole Hardman. Maybe he'll be added and scuffled into this offense. But 36 receptions, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns isn't going to cut it. I really like the Chargers this week. I do. They lost against the Cowboys last week. I think they're going to explode against this Kansas City defense. I like Justin Herbert, 68.7 completion percentage, 1,333 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I expect Austin Eckler to have a breakout game. He didn't look good last week. I expect him to be even better coming back from his injury. And I believe Keenan Allen will have another big game, 42 receptions, 519 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Mike Williams is still not back, is he? I don't think he's back.
No, he's done for the year.
Oh, he's down for the year? I thought he was coming back.
No, he's done for the year.
Well, that doesn't help them very much. But nevertheless, I expect them to put up points. I think it'll be a very, very close game. I know it's in Kansas City. I think the Chargers will find a way to win this game. Give me the Chargers on the money line.
All right, Derek's Philadelphia Eagles finally losing a game against the Jets last week. They host the Miami Dolphins. It's funny because originally I was thinking that when I was looking at the Eagles schedule, where were they going to lose their first game? I was thinking it was going to be the Dolphins originally because the Eagles were still struggling with the downfield passing. Miami's defense, like Derek was saying,
battle of the 5-1 teams.
Derek was saying, their Dolphins defense still suspect in a lot of areas, and the Eagles still have proven that their offense can be well-rounded enough, and I do think they're going to make it tough on this Dolphins defense. The Dolphins pass rush, or the Dolphins offensive line, still having issues with Teron Armstead being hurt, and I think they haven't been exposed to that because they played the Giants, who are the last in the league in sacks, and the Panthers, who are not very good either, and Brian Burns wants to be traded. The Eagles get the pass rush going. I think they win. I think it'll be not a blowout, but a semi-blowout. I think the Dolphins have a letdown. Give me Philly.
The battle of the first and second place offenses in the league. Yes, the Dolphins are the number 1 offense in the league, and the Eagles the number 2 offense in the league. But here's the problem. Defensively, the Miami Dolphins are ranked 22nd to the Eagles that are ranked 12th. I think right now, Tua's been the better quarterback. He, to me, is the MVP. He's going to make mistakes in Philadelphia. It's going to be loud on Sunday Night Football, on nationally televised game. I think Jalen Hurts will have a better game this week. I think he outplays Tua. The battle of the Alabama, a.k.a., I guess, Oklahoma quarterback. I don't know what you call him, but Jalen Hurts will have a better game. He'll play better than Tua. I think Tua will make a couple mistakes defensively. Jalen Carter will be back this week. I think the defense will be even more explosive this week than they were against the Jets. And as good as Miami has been offensively, they don't have the defense the Jets have, and that's going to be the problem against this team. I think Swift will have a big game, 86 attempts, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns this year. He's going to have another touchdown. I think he gets 90 yards this week. I think A.J. Brown will have an explosive game, 42 receptions, 672 yards, 2 touchdowns. Give him another touchdown and another 100 yards. I think Devontae Smith will not play this week. I think that's why Julio Jones was added to the team. I think Julio will touch the ball a couple of times and maybe have a red zone touchdown. There's something about this game that everybody thinks it's going to the Dolphins. I don't. I believe the Eagles will stop the run. I think they'll stop Mostert. I think Achan will not play this week. And Tyreek Hill has had over 100 yards week after week. This week, he will not break 100 yards, and Waddle will have the better game. He will have closer to 100 yards, but that won't be enough. Give me the Eagles on the money line.
And Monday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. It is 44 Yeah, nothing about what the Vikings played last week showed me that they can do well against a good team. We're talking about the Raiders beating so many bad teams. The Vikings have beaten the Panthers and the Bears this year. Those are their 2 wins. Probably the 2 worst teams in the NFL right now, maybe besides the Giants. So I don't. Even though the 49ers are having all these injury issues on offense, they could still do very well against this Vikings.
And
defense.
McCaffrey's still playing this week.
McCaffrey looks like he's going to play. Even I don't think they're going to need him to do a lot because I think they could just still spread the ball around. The Vikings defense has been better against the pass this year, but it's not like they're still like this overly talented secondary where they can't win with Ayuk and Jawan Jennings. So I think the Niners, I think their red zone offense will still keep it close to an extent, but the Vikings have no Justin Jefferson. So I want to believe that Reno Johnny thinks the Vikings could cover, but I just don't see it. Give me Niners money line.
Here's the honesty. Right now, without Justin Jefferson, they're still ranked 11th offensively in the league to the San Francisco 49ers ranked 6th. Defensively, they're 19th in the league to San Francisco's 4th. Honestly, when you look at the big picture and you look at what Brock Purdy has done this year, he's been magnificent. He really has. Is he an MVP candidate? No, but 67.5 completion percentage, 1,396 yards, 10 touchdowns to 1 interception. How many quarterbacks right now in the league besides Brock Purdy only has 1 interception? The only one, CJ Stroud. He's been superb. I don't think he's the MVP, but he's played very well and he's been very efficient. Christian McCaffrey will play this week. I think he's the MVP of the team. 110 attempts, 553 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's explosive. Ayuk's been fantastic. 25 receptions, 454 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I expect them to have a big game. I don't know if Debo plays this week. It doesn't seem like he will, but I still think they're going to be explosive. I think their offensive line is still good and their defense is amazing. And I think they're going to make Kirk Cousins force the ball in different places. And by the way, primetime games for Kirk Cousins, not good. So I do not see Kirk Cousins pulling off this win. Give me the 49ers on the money line.
Even Monday Night Football, he is winless in his career, too. Even though the last one he played, he actually played well. It wasn't the reason.
Yeah, well, he's due. A lot of people will say he's due. If you're a betting man,
that's true.
You would say he was due. But I cannot see them beating San Francisco.
Except if you're Chaz, and then you're used to that being the roulette wheel. Always bet on black. Eventually, it'll be red. Eventually, but Chaz always says, no, the pattern can still happen.
Well, there's no pattern with this team. Unfortunately, I think Minnesota is on their way out this year, and I think they should look to lose this year and try to figure out what they're doing at the quarterback position. I know Kurt came out and said that he wants to be back next year. I know Justin Jefferson wants him to be back next year, and maybe they do bring him back to obviously be more of the leader and the quarterback that's going to help the young quarterback that they bring in to grow. To me, if you're going to go after a quarterback in the top 15, which they might even move up to get, I think you start one of them. If it's May or Knicks or whoever they decide to bring in as their quarterback, and they're going to get one of those guys. There are 5 quarterbacks that are really good that a lot of people think that could go in the first round, and guys like Riley Leonard who could fall out of the first round. And by the way, everybody keeps talking about what Notre Dame did to Caleb Williams this past week. Did anybody watch what Riley Leonard did to Notre Dame when he played him? Okay, so that just tells you what Riley Leonard could be as a quarterback in the NFL. You could depend on a quarterback that can do everything right and be a leader for that team. And right now, Duke, he was everything to Duke before he got hurt. And I expect him to still play this year. And I really think he can squeak into the first round. I really do. I think he's got the talent. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft class, and it's going to be a lot of questions on where some of these teams go, because we know New England's going to be looking for a young quarterback to rebuild with O'Brien. And maybe it's McDaniels too as his coordinator. Who knows? And we know quite a few teams that could be. Hey, Cleveland could be looking for a quarterback to play behind Deshaun Watson, because Deshaun Watson isn't the answer for them. So there are other teams. Washington, maybe Howell is right now. He looks like the guy. But if Bieniemy becomes the coach of this team, is Bieniemy really believe in Howell to be his quarterback in the future? I don't know. Tampa, is Baker Mayfield the guy? Are they going to extend him? Arizona. We know they're going to be looking for a quarterback. Quite a few of these teams could be looking for a quarterback moving forward.
Yeah, the Vikings are in a spot where I think they definitely have to look at trading as many veterans as possible too, because it's not just Kirk Cousins that's on this deal. The right tackle Brian O'Neill is in a 4th year of his contract. Could he be a guy that's worth moving? Danielle Hunter, who's had a great year again this year, is he going to be a guy that could be worth moving? There's a lot of teams that could use the edge rushing help. Now, Brian Burns for the Panthers is obviously going to be the edge rushing commodity of the trade deadline because he's younger and he's been very explosive when he has been on the field. But Danielle Hunter is a guy that's been very underrated, close to 80 sacks, I believe, in his career, and good speed rusher. Not great run defense wise, but definitely something that a team that is contending could use for their defense. Maybe like a Miami that could definitely use that edge rushing.
Well, it doesn't look like we're going to get Shane Greene on. I don't know what happened to him. Speedy, you'll have to reach out to him. We have to make sure that we can get him on the show, or make sure that he approves that he is going to be on the show. I know he said it this morning, but unfortunately, Shane probably got mixed up, or he had something else to do. But hopefully we get Shane Greene. I was really looking forward to getting Shane Greene on the show and interviewing him, because he's an ex-Yankee. I love the way he played with the Yankees. At one point, he was their eighth inning guy. At one point, he was their closer.
Right.
So I thought Shane has had a very good career in the MLB, and he's still in the MLB. He's been a major league player for over 10 years, and he played in a couple of games this year. I wanted to speak to him about the Yankees, his thoughts of where the Yankees are heading, and maybe the Yankees bring him back next year. So I'm interested to hear him. So hopefully we get him on the show. I wanted to interview him, and then we're waiting right now for former Titans and Giants All-Pro linebacker Keith Bulluck, who already said that he will join us at 9:00. So he did send Central Time. So that's
yes. He makes it up in his head, and then he said it was going to be in the morning. So
hopefully we get him on the show. Is everything good with Keith?
Yeah, that's what I said. He said he'd keep the original time of 9 Central, or 9 Eastern, 8 Central. So we're waiting on that right now.
Well, at least if we get one of them on the show, that would be nice. I'm interested in interviewing Keith too. I know he was an ex-Giant, but his career really blossomed with the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm.
He did go to a Super Bowl one time. I think he was on that team with Eddie George, wasn't he? On that
Yeah,
team?
he was actually drafted the year after their Music City Miracle year.
Oh.
Yes, he was actually the first round pick that came out of the 30th overall pick in that draft, and that was back when the Texans didn't exist. So they had 31 teams. So they was the second to last pick after they lost that game, obviously by the 1 yard on the 1 yard line against the greatest show on turf, St. Louis Rams. But he was great. He was, I think, 2-time All-Pro player in his career. He did play with Eddie George at the beginning of his career, and the Titans, the whole cycle of great running backs, Chris Johnson at the end of his career too.
I loved Eddie George. I loved him as a running back. I loved his talent. I loved his personality. And by the way, I see a post right now of the Titans, and what number is it? It's not Eddie George. It's Derrick Henry. What was Eddie George's number?
27.
27. What's Derrick Henry's number?
22.
22. Well, there you go. And by the way, it looks like a 27, so it does look like Eddie George, but it is Derrick Henry. So, but I loved Eddie George. I loved him. I think he was a great running back. If you remember, the years that that team was dominant and had a chance. And Steve McNair was the quarterback of that team, and I love Steve, and may he rest in peace.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the craziness that's happened over the years. His girlfriend murdered him, and if everybody remembers that, Steve McNair was a great quarterback, great Samaritan in the NFL, and I would have loved to interview Steve McNair. He was a great person, great personality, everything. I watched his. I watched the NFL Network do. What do they call that? The NFL, they do
football
like bio,
football life,
a football life, and I watched the Steve McNair football life. It's a sad situation. But Eddie George, who I've always and reach out to Eddie, because I would love to get Eddie on the show. I think he would be a great interview, and honestly, the Tennessee Titans need to figure out where they're going with the quarterback position too, because they're another organization and another team that'll going to be looking for the next guy. Will Levis, we have not seen him yet this year. That's something I would love to see, because I want to see if Will Levis is the guy, and we all know Malik is not. And I do not know why Malik is the backup quarterback. And yes, Aaron McNair, Carl is absolutely right. But I'm wondering where Tennessee is going. I think their defense, and do they fire their coach at the end of the season? Does Vrabel get fired? I mean, he wasn't very happy with the A.J. Brown trade, 2 years ago in the draft.
Right.
He wasn't happy about that, as you saw. And the team as a whole, ever since A.J. Brown was traded, is not the same team. They're not explosive offensively since he's been gone. It hasn't helped Derrick Henry out. Derrick Henry is looking for another big contract and an extension in the offseason. And to me, Derrick Henry, being that he's getting older and he's a bigger guy and he's had ankle surgery and foot surgery already, I don't know if I see them giving him another extension.
Right. And you also look at Mike Vrabel, the type of coach that he is, too. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I think he's been a good coach. But if the Titans are going to take that next step offensively like they have been, they might want to try to consider hiring an offensive coach. Maybe Vrabel gets a job somewhere else because, like you said, he's been good with the players. He runs a great defensive scheme. I think besides the first year where they took to trying to bring in a bunch of expatriates, they've drafted well, and he's done well with a lot of the talent that they drafted on defense. And he's definitely a good guy for the team culture aspect of the Titans, who've been a steadily good team. Besides last year where they were 7-3 and collapsed, fell apart at the end of the year. But you want to wonder, especially somebody like Levis, who's very raw as it is, you want a coach that could really help him elevate his game very quickly. Because we felt that way with Anthony Richardson, too, at the start of the year. And Shane Steichen did a good job with him.
I'm very impressed with Anthony Richardson this year. I think he's injury prone, and that would scare you if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan. I mean, I listened to Ryan Hickey the other day. He was talking because he's an Indianapolis Colts fan. He loves Anthony Richardson. He loves what he's seen with Anthony Richardson. But how could you love somebody that's only played 4 games? And that Gardner Minshew has been the guy for them. And he's played very well as a backup quarterback. But I think there's a lot of questions to Anthony Richardson. If he could stay healthy, for the 17 games every single season and be the catalyst that gets him in the playoffs, then that's something else. He's an athletic beast. He can run the ball. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got everything that you want from a quarterback. The question is, can you win with him? Can he stay healthy? That's something that even the Chicago Bears are trying to figure out with Justin Fields. He can't stay healthy. The last 2 years, he's been a running quarterback, run first, throw second. It doesn't work in the NFL. He has to figure out how to be a pocket present quarterback. If he doesn't, he already hurt his shoulder. So was that his throwing shoulder that he hurt?
Yes.
So that's scary too. That's his throwing shoulder. And he's got, we've seen this before. Josh Allen had shoulder surgery when he came into the NFL. Did it work for him? It did. But Josh Allen has a better arm than Anthony Richardson. So it's a different beast. And Josh Allen's built like an ox. Anthony Richardson's a skinny, scrawny guy, tall, skinny, scrawny. Yes, he's built, but he's like 205 pounds soaking wet for a guy that's 6'5", and he has a tremendous athletic ability. But I worry about quarterbacks that are big and light. We talk about Lamar Jackson. I'm surprised he's not had significant injuries because of his size. I have to give him a lot of credit. He knows how to protect himself. And by the way, Carl says, how bad are the Raiders in the Bears game? I think it's going to be, listen, I think the Raiders are going to win the game. I think it's going to be an absolute horrific game to watch. If you're a fan of both teams, I wouldn't want to watch the game. Jimmy Garoppolo's not playing. You're going to bet on Hoyer? Give me a break. Everywhere Josh McDaniels goes, he brings in Hoyer, he brings all these guys, these expatriate backup quarterbacks. They don't mount to anything as a starting quarterback when they get a starting job at Cleveland or wherever they've gone. I mean, Hoyer has been a journeyman everywhere he's gone, and he's not been an efficient quarterback. So I don't know what makes them think he's going to be efficient this weekend against, yes, a bad Raiders defense. There's no question, but a better Raiders defense than they were last year.
Right. And you look at this game, too, with the Bears, like they didn't really prove a lot, even defensively, to judge that you could trust even this Raiders just top skill players either. And again, it's going to be very tough. And the Raiders, offensive line, do they really trust themselves either with this kind of matchup too? And this is what happens when you don't protect your quarterbacks as well as these other teams that have these franchise quarterbacks have. Probably besides the Bengals, when you look at all the teams that have considered elite quarterbacks in this league, they've all done well in terms of investing in the offensive line, first round picks, money, whatever it takes. The Bengals finally did it with money, paying Orlando Brown the way they have, but he hasn't looked great. He's not been a great pass blocker as it is anyway, but still, it's one of those things where you have to invest in that kind of quicker because the coaches can make the other wide receivers work unless you have like the Bengals have with their wide receivers and maybe the Bills.
Hopefully he didn't struck out with 2 guys, man, because it looks like Shane Greene will not be joining us tonight. And right now, we have not seen Keith Bulluck. He hasn't responded to you, so we might have struck out on both our guests tonight, Speedy, and that's something that you need to look into before the show because we need to make sure that what we're promoting. And listen, I understand these guys are busy guys. Shane Greene is a busy guy, still in the majors. He still has an off season. I don't know what he's doing now that the playoffs are going on, and I'm sure he's busy with his family and everything like that. But he did say he was coming on, and also
he responded like 2 minutes after I said it, so like he seemed ready to go.
Are you sure that they sent it? You sent it right to them?
Yeah, no, I sent it to them. He said sounds good. 2 minutes later, literally 2 minutes later, and he was fast when he came on last week when I planned all this. So.
Interesting. I obviously these guys bump in, there's bumps and bruises, and I know Keith Bulluck. He came all the way from London. I know he's tired. He thought it was going to be in the morning. I was like, he really thought it was the morning time, but that's why you have to tell him Central Eastern time.
He did. I even did say that. Keith even said in the message, I know you said Central. That was my fault. I had a brain fart, just assume, or you said Eastern. It was a brain fart. I was assuming it said Central. Now he said 9.
Where does he live anyways?
He lives in Nashville. So.
What does he say? 9 what?
9 Eastern, 8 Central. He literally said that was good to go.
Well, let's.
He said it was my fault. I'm tripping.
Let's see if we can get Keith Bulluck on the show before the show ends. I would really like to interview him. I thought he had a very good career. I mean, he was a borderline Hall of Famer. If he played another 2 or 3 years at the top of his game, he's a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. So. But when he did play, he was an all-pro player. I think he was a 2-year all-pro player. And at one point, he was compared to one of the best linebackers in the league. I mean, they were comparing him to Ray Lewis. So that's something that you have to look at moving forward. When you see these guys and who's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, how do they compare to the guys in front of them? How do they compare to the guys that they played with at the same position?
Right. Tampa 2 linebackers too. When you look at the guys that could cover really well, physical guys and those outside linebackers, you think about a lot of the Hall of Fame outside linebackers in their time. A lot of them are top pass rush type guys too. And then you look at the 2000s that kind of transformed it when you saw more of these base defenses and somebody like Lance Briggs that really strived in that. Derek Brooks that really strived in that too. Those are probably, when you think about outside linebackers for that era, the 2 best. But Keith Bulluck, we're not far behind with it when it comes to that coverage ability, run stopping ability, one of the hardest hitters in the league at that time too. For Jeff Fisher's defense, that Titans defense had a very good front 7 for a while and had good longevity. When they didn't really, after McNair left, they had trouble finding the quarterbacks. They tried it with Vince Young. They tried it with Kerry Collins again, I think for a second stint there. And they had a great team in 08 too. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC, but then they lost against the Ravens in the playoffs.
I will say this with baseball playoffs, this has been such a fun baseball playoff. You have the Texas Rangers up 2-1. Philadelphia loses their first game tonight against Arizona. They came back and won the game. It was a pitching duel all the way to the end. And I'll tell you this right now, I still have Philadelphia and Texas winning. And I said Philadelphia was going to win 4-2, and I said Texas was going to win 4-2. And I think either or, I do not want to see Houston going to the World Series again. I don't want to see it. And against Philadelphia again this year, I know a lot of people would love to see Philly get back at Houston, but Houston compared to Philadelphia, I would be worried because I think the matchup works very well against Philadelphia. I do not believe Texas matches up very well against Philadelphia either, but I'm still going to take Bruce Bochy because he's the better manager. That's the only reason. And Thompson's been very, very good, and it's been fun. The playoffs have been very, very fun to watch. It really has. The favorites are out. There's no Orioles still in it. They're the only favorite still in is Houston. They're the only favorite still in. But even a lot of people thought the Blue Jays were going to make a run. They lose against the Minnesota Twins, and then Tampa, who you picked them to go to the World Series and win it, and they.
No, I had the Dodgers winning, but I had the Rays making it.
Yeah. Well, again, the Dodgers are another team that everybody expected. I thought Atlanta was going to make a run. I thought if they matched up against Atlanta, I didn't think they have any chance. Philadelphia, I didn't think Atlanta had any chance against Philadelphia because I think Philadelphia has their number. I think Philly understands how to pitch against their youngsters. So, and I'll tell you this right now, offensively throughout the playoffs, it's been horrible. It's been really bad, except the game last night with Houston and the Texas Rangers. Throughout the playoffs this year, it's been all pitching and defense, nothing offensively, really.
So it looks like Shane Greene is going to be coming in. He said, give me a minute. He got caught up with some family stuff.
All right. And what are we going to do with Bullock?
I guess Keith will have to move if he comes in to a little later. I don't know. Shane is coming in a couple of minutes, he did say.
All right. So we'll get Shane on. One or the other. We'll get one of these guys on. And I'm sure we'll get Keith. By the way, Lance Briggs tackling machine. Yes. And I want to say something. Lance Briggs spoke out this past week on a podcast and took shots at the Bears and said that if they get the number 1 pick, they should not go after Caleb Williams, because if they go after Caleb Williams, they're bringing in the same quarterback Justin Fields is.
Okay.
And that's what Lance Briggs came out and said. He says it doesn't make any sense. If you're going to give up a Justin Fields, you don't bring in Caleb Williams. You bring in a Bo Nix or one of these guys, more of a quarterback savvy, arm strength type of quarterback, pocket present, who can move inside and out of the pocket. He believes Caleb Williams is the same type of quarterback as Justin Fields. He's a run first, throw second quarterback. And in the NFL, that's what he's going to use. He's going to use his athletic ability more than his ability throwing the ball.
That's interesting because the Bears had the opposite for a while too. They didn't have a quarterback that could make really plays. They were having a lot of basic quarterbacks throughout their career, or quarterbacks that had the pocket present talent that busted it for that reason too. So it seemed like the athleticism was going in a different direction for the Bears. It looked like they were finally in the modern era. So it's interesting that he's one of the ones that are already saying, all right, keep Fields and keep going with this kind of thing too. And it's interesting because you look at the position the Bears are in with the 2 draft picks. They could definitely get great value if a team is not worried about these other cultural issues like Caleb Williams has had and his dad and all this nonsense we were talking about yesterday with him buying stock in the team and stuff like that.
I think with Caleb Williams, and I understand what he is trying to do. He is the face right now of NCAA college football. He's on every single commercial. He's making a lot of money with his NIL deals, and he's not going to be in any of those championship games. He'll be in a ball game, but he's not going to be fighting for a national championship now that he has 2 losses. Yeah. And the game that he had against Notre Dame, it didn't look good. And a lot of people are going to compare that game at the end of the season when they're trying to compare him to Knicks and all the other guys that some people say that they would pick them in front of him. The question is with Caleb Williams, is he there to be a superstar? Is he there to make a team better and become a team player? I don't know, because we've seen this before with other NFL players, other NFL quarterbacks, and it never worked. He's not Eli Manning. He's not forcing his way to another team where his father thinks he'll work better in that organization and for that city. It's not like that. Caleb Williams wants to be the center stage. He wants to be the guy, and he wants to be everything to that organization. If he goes to Chicago, he might be that. He might be very outspoken. I don't think it'll work in a big city. I think he needs to go to a city that is smaller and more understanding on the type of quarterback that he is. Because look, Kyler Murray's in Arizona. It's not a small city, but it's not a very known football city. And we can see right now that he has had problems there ever since he started talking into third person and losing against the Rams in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And again, you wonder if that kind of thing could carry over to Chicago too, if that kind of team culture is something that can hinder a quarterback down the road too. We've seen that a lot. And that's why they're the only team in NFL history without a 30 touchdown guy and a 4,000 yard guy.
So why don't we go to a quick break? And now we finally will have Shane Greene on the show. I know he's a busy man, but thank you. When we come back on the Sports Loudmouth, we will have Shane Greene, 10-year MLB vet, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
I love this track. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy PD. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows, including the listings of every single show live. All you have to do is check out the local listings. All you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. It's been a crazy show. We've had Let's Parlay, and we've been waiting for Shane. Happy to have him on. We're now talking to 10-year vet MLB pitcher Shane Greene. Shane, what's up, man?
What's up, boys? How we doing?
Well, we're happy to have you on. I know you're a busy guy. You're still
Yeah,
playing in
sorry
man.
about the delay.
It's okay, man. I mean, you're a busy guy, and we were supposed to get Keith Bulluck on the show. He thought it was Central Time, and then we said Eastern Time. So I think maybe he's still with the Central Time. I don't know. He'll probably pop on in a few minutes, and he'll be like, "We'll have you both on. We'll interview you both." I mean, it's crazy, but nevertheless, we're happy to have you on. Before we get into your career and where you see your career moving forward, you did play for the Cubs this year, and you were a New York Yankee draft prospect. But how are you and your family doing with COVID? We haven't spoken to you. This is the first time on the show.
Everything's good. I'm Florida native, so COVID wasn't really that big of a thing here, I guess, as much as other places. So it was good. A lot of downtime, obviously, but family's good. Everybody's healthy, so blessed.
Yeah, you look blessed. I mean, the years that you've been in the major leagues, you've been here, you've been in the majors since 2014. It's 2023. You have a long career. You were drafted by the New York Yankees. I loved you. Your first year with the Yankees, you had a very good season. You had 5 wins, 4 losses. Your ERA was 3.78. They moved you in the 8th inning. They moved you in the 7th inning. You were pitching very, very well. What was it like playing for the New York Yankees?
Well, in 2014, that was Jeter's last year, so being able to be a part of that experience was unbelievable. I was there for his last walk-off at Yankee Stadium. I was a rookie, but 2, it was like, being in a movie. The lights were brighter, the crowd was loud. I mean, the fans were on their feet from like the 3rd inning on, chanting something about Jeter. I had goosebumps the whole game. It was incredible. But to pitch in the big leagues, obviously, dream come true. But putting on those pinstripes, I've put on some pretty big. Every team I've played for is like super historic team, but it's definitely different putting on the pinstripes. I will say that Yankee Stadium is the aura around the pinstripes in the stadium and everything else is different. And when I was there, I had the captain playing shortstop, so that was a crazy experience.
You love the bleacher creatures?
Yeah, I love the bleacher creatures. It almost feels like I never got an opportunity to go to the old Yankee Stadium. That was on my bucket list, but it feels like the way they built it, it's so big that sometimes it feels like the fans are not as close to you as you want them to be, if that makes sense. Like the older stadiums, like you go to Fenway or you go to Wrigley, the fans are right on top of you. So I would like it better if the bleacher creatures were right on top of me when I'm on the mound, because I love that energy, but it's a good time out there.
Yeah. So what was it like pitching in in New York too, even off the field, to the city culture when you were there with the Yankees?
It was good. I mean, obviously I was a rookie, and when I got called up, I didn't know like I could get sent down any moment. You know what I mean? So I was living in the hotel. I forget what hotel I was living in, but near Grand Central Station. I was taking the subway to and from the field every day, never getting recognized. Like I would literally start in the game and then get on the subway, and nobody knew who I was. So that was cool. But my family had never been to New York City. I had never been to New York City, so like, it was a crazy experience and a great experience for me and everybody involved. But I was young. I had a good time.
We are talking to 10-year MLB vet pitcher Shane Greene. Shane, then you went to Detroit for a couple of years. I know you were there with Miguel Cabrera. He's a fantastic player too. You were talking about Derek Jeter. What was it like playing with Miguel Cabrera?
Yeah, I've been extremely blessed to play with some Hall of Famers on every team I've played with, really. And Miggy is a special talent. One thing I got to say about Miggy that people don't realize is he's known for like being like the class clown at first base, kind of, like he's always goofing off and laughing and messing with people or whatever. But he's able to do that because the game is so slow to him that he's already analyzed everything while people are still trying to analyze. Now he's fucking around, for lack of better terms, So it's like people think he's just kind of like this class clown, but really he's one of the most intelligent baseball players you could ever be around. The game is the slowest for him as it could ever be for anybody. Like in between messing with the guy that's leading off of first base, he's like yelling into the dugout because we're not doing the right shift, or somebody needs to be over here or should have been over there. Like, he sees everything and he knows everything. And as far as his hitting ability, obviously he's the most talented to ever do it. So he's a special player, but special human. All the
You
way
were there
around.
for the Triple Crown, right?
I just missed it.
Ah.
I just missed the Triple Crown. But when I was in that locker room, it was Miggy, Verlander, Price, Victor Martinez, Ian Kinsler, Justin Upton. Like, we had some dudes on that team. We had K-Rod there. We had some dudes on that team. So I've been extremely blessed with the teammates I've had.
So you also got to play for a World Series team in 2021 with the Atlanta Braves, a team that started off very slow, had a lot of injuries, and was able to turn it around late in the season. As a Mets fan, I didn't really, I couldn't really root for that because I wanted the Mets to win the division, and they had a 10-game lead at the All-Star break and fell apart. So what was that season like for you?
Well, that season was crazy for me because I signed late. I don't remember the day I signed, but I signed late. Basically, had to go to AAA for like my spring training, and went to AAA, got ready, came to the big leagues, and I stunk, and I stunk real bad. And then I ended up getting DFA'd from that team and signing with the Dodgers. So, and then they DFA'd me with like a week left in the season. So when they were playing each other in the World Series, in the championship series, I already had a 50-50 chance of getting a World Series ring. So, so I played my odds pretty well there, but I do have a ring from that season. I'm proud of it. Not everybody in the world has a World Series ring, but I really wish I was a part of that dog pile.
As everybody knows, we are talking to 10-year MLB pitcher Shane Greene. You know, Shane, your best year, when I look at your numbers, was 2017 with Detroit. You were 4-3. Your ERA was 2.66. You had 73 strikeouts. I mean, you had a really good year. Tell us a little bit about your 2017 season.
17 was the first year that I was a full-time reliever. And K-Rod was there. And Justin Wilson was there, and Alex Wilson was there, who had been relievers for a while in the major leagues. And I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I was still a young kid, basically. I barely had a year or two in the big leagues, and I had never been a reliever in my life. So learning from those guys, I'll never forget. I asked Justin Wilson, I said, "Yo, what should I do? Like, how does this work?" And he looked at me straight face and said, "I don't care what you do, but do it every day." So I took that to heart, and I just trial and errored and got a routine, started throwing out of the bullpen, and then with K-Rod in my ear about pitch selection and learning how to slow the game down and read batters and read their body language and go from pitch to pitch and don't let the count tell you what to throw, but let the hitter tell you what to throw, and all these different things. You know, obviously there's some luck involved in baseball as well, but I was throwing really well. I had some really good minds around me, and luck was on my side.
So this year featured a big shift for pitchers in the pitch clock this year, one of the big new rules. What was the experience like for you?
Well, I had the pitch clock last year, and because last season I spent most of the season in AAA grinding, trying to get back to the show. So I experienced the pitch clock last year, and I'm pretty sure I led the league in pitch clock violations because I had spent my whole career trying to figure out how to slow the game down, and I finally mastered that, and now I got to speed it back up, you know? So it was like every time out I was getting at least one pitch violation, but at the time I wasn't pitching great, but I wasn't pitching terrible. I was kind of riding the roller coaster a little bit. So I told myself, like, basically, who cares? Like, take that on the chin, but be yourself out there and not try to speed up. Basically, if they ball you, and move on. And I started pitching a little better when I thought about it that way. But at the end of the day, that pitch clock, I mean, it was not easy to get used to for me. This year, pitching with it, I did much better. You kind of learn, like, you know, I used to be the guy that walked around the dirt and took his time or whatever. Like, if you just never leave the dirt, that's going to buy you like 3 seconds. And those 3 seconds are extremely valuable for me. So I can still do my routine and my breathing and stuff if I just stay I just try to stay like on, like literally like right over the rubber the whole time. I can still do like all my checkpoints.
Woosah.
Yeah.
Woosah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this right now. The rubber, I mean, look at the bases. They look like pizza boxes. We were making jokes. I have no idea what the MLB is doing. I don't know if you like it, but we've had a lot of
So you guys don't like the new bases?
Oh, I can't stand it. I don't like the new
Really?
rules. The only thing I like, Shane, is
Well,
the
wait until you
shifting.
get the automatic strike call umpires.
Oh,
I had
think
that this year in AAA too.
By the way, let me tell you something. The umpires are absolutely blind and stupid. Okay,
Here's the thing. I'll be honest with you.
Go
I
ahead,
was
be
literally
honest.
just talking about this last night with one of my best friends. The umpires are really good.
Mhm.
Like they get some calls where you're like, you have to watch it in slow motion to get it right as a regular human.
Mhm.
And then every once in a while they'll make a call where it's like not even close. And
Angel
those are the ones that
Hernandez.
and those are the ones that they get a bad rep for. But like most of the time, some of these plays are like bang bang and they're on it, which is remarkable. It's just like, I mean, we're all humans, we all make mistakes, right? But I will say there are some times where it's like, dude, you're obviously really good, but that wasn't even close. So what happened? Where you found somebody in the stands you were checking out, or like where were you at when that just happened, kind of deal. But being in AAA this year with the automatic strike zone, the ABS strike zone, that's going to be really interesting whenever they decide that that's going to be in the big leagues.
Well, I just want to let you know, we had Dale Scott. He was a 33-year vet as an umpire in the MLB yesterday, and he was talking. He speaks very highly of the umpires, but he's an ex-umpire, so of course he's going to speak very highly of them. But I took shots at Angel Hernandez, and a lot of people, a lot of ex-players tell me, "Oh, the guy doesn't. He's blind. He needs to put up binoculars or something like that." He's absolutely horrendous when it comes to calling behind the plate. I know you've seen Angel before. What type of umpire has he ever pissed you off on the mound?
Well, I'll be honest. I know who he is because I have social media. But if I didn't, I wouldn't know. I don't know any of the umpires' names really. There's things that I just don't pay attention to. But I will say this. There's the worst in the league in every league, right? Like there's the worst basketball player in the league. There's the worst baseball player in the league. There's the worst soccer player in the league. He was probably the worst umpire in the league.
They all make a lot of money too.
Based off of my social media feed, he was probably the worst. So, I don't know. I've seen teammates blow up because of a call that he's made. But I do my best to look if he or anybody else is umpiring the game. I'm not the only player that's playing in that game, so he's going to be affecting everybody's game. So if I can not let him affect me mentally, then I will have an edge. So I tried to do my best to not allow the umpires get in my head, whether I agree with their call or not while I'm playing. Now, when I'm not playing, there's times where I agree or disagree. But while I'm on the field in between the lines, I do my best to kind of black out, ignore it. Who cares? Next pitch, move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Greene. He's the sweetest guy on the mound. I mean, Angel.
No. I have had my moments. I've had my moments, but
I'm just kidding.
I do my best. I do my best.
I got you. You have to be professional, and as a professional baseball player, and not many people make it to the major leagues and the big leagues and have a career like you, because say whatever you want. I mean, you've been in the league for a long time. You played in the major leagues, and to me, it's not easy to do what you're doing. So, and the fact that you're still doing it at 34, by the way, you're a baby. You're 34 years old. You're still a kid.
I appreciate you saying that.
You are.
I appreciate you saying that because that means a lot to me.
But it's true, man. I mean, A-Rod's how old? He's 44, 45 years old. I'm only 3 years younger than him. And I met A-Rod, and I'm like, A-Rod says, I'm an old man. Old man. Maybe in baseball years, as a regular human, you're young. You have your whole life in front of you. And you've got millions and millions of dollars. Maybe you should give me some. Go ahead. Give me some.
I gotta get some more, and then we can talk about that.
There you go. I like that. I like that with Shane.
So the other big controversy this year was the sticky substances with the pitchers. Obviously, the Mets and the Yankees especially got caught with it a lot. Max Scherzer was the first big one. Then there was Domingo Germán who got caught with it twice. And what are your thoughts on all that? And as a pitcher yourself, like, is there any like preparation that you have to do with the rosin and stuff like that to get the grip on the ball?
No pun intended, it's a sticky situation to talk about. But man, I won't name any names, but I remember my second big league spring training ever. I watched a veteran teach the rookies how to make the sticky stuff that the veteran taught him when he was a rookie, that the veteran taught him when he this has been going on since the beginning of baseball time, right? So in my opinion, who cares about the sticky stuff? That's my opinion.
I agree.
That's my opinion. It's been going on since the beginning of time, and then trying to regulate it makes it very difficult because the umpires probably don't even know what they're looking for, right? I don't even really know. Like I've seen sticky stuff, but if I had to check somebody for sticky stuff, like what is sticky? It's just up to me what sticky is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and if you use the rosin that's on the mound with a lot of sweat or even just water, it gets very sticky.
Yep.
So then what's the violation? It's too sticky, says who? Right? So it's a very sticky situation to try to figure out. But to answer your question, do I use anything? I use the rosin. I actually like the ball. I stick my hand in my mouth over and over. Like I like the ball kind of wet myself. I don't like it feeling very sticky, and I would rather have a ball come right out of the package than be rubbed up. And I'd probably say that's like 3% of baseball players, maybe, if that. Everybody else wants the ball rubbed up, so I like it. I like feeling it a little bit different than most people. But the sticky situation, man, it's been around since the beginning, and it will be around forever. It's like there's speed limit signs on the highway, but everybody speeds, and they've been speeding, and they're going to continue to speed. So I don't know how you can exactly regulate it. I think that the balls get extremely dusty sometimes, and that's the biggest problem. Is each ball is different, and they're dusty, and everybody, including myself, has tricks to make the ball feel less dusty, because that's the issue. And guys are throwing harder than ever, and I would never want to be in the box facing somebody throwing 100 miles an hour or harder, especially one that's not using any sticky, because I don't want to. I've always said this as a pitcher. I throw the ball. You can hit the ball as hard as you want. Just don't hit it at me as hard as you want.
Mm-hmm.
For the same reason why if I was a hitter, I wouldn't care if a pitcher was using sticky stuff to make his breaking ball nastier, because at least I won't get hit in the face.
Mm.
That's my opinion on the sticky stuff. But like I said, it's been around since the beginning. It will be around forever. Somebody will always be figuring out a way to make it sticky, whether it's with rosin or with anything else.
Well, just hopefully he doesn't reach into his ass and use that kind of sticky stuff.
Yeah, well, but it's a good place to hide it. They don't check there.
We are talking a 10-year MLB pitching vet, Shane Greene. And by the way, I love the line, ball out of the package.
Yeah, straight out of the package. I'm good. Ready to go.
I love that line. I'm definitely going to use that. Hey, listen, I like my balls out of the package. Shane, when you look at the league right now, and to me, right now in the playoffs, and a lot of the favorites are gone. You have the Astros still in it; they're a favorite, but you have the Texas Rangers. They're a young team. They're a young talent team with arguably the best manager in baseball, in Bruce Bochy. Then you have Philadelphia, who went all the way to the World Series and obviously lost against the Astros last year. And I think they have a very good chance to do it again this year. I think they have a better team with Trey Turner there, and they have a lot of hot hitters over there. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks. Who would have thought? Did you think that the league was that open going into the playoffs?
Well, no, but it's baseball, right? And I think that playoff baseball is the most exciting sport to watch out of all the sports, because there's so many different human elements involved, and every single pitch matters. Every inning's like the ninth inning. Playoff baseball is the best thing you could ever watch, and as you know, anybody can beat anybody in baseball. So if you made me fill out a bracket prior to all this, I would have had the Rangers and probably the Phillies here, but I don't know if I would have had the Diamondbacks here. and I probably would have rooted against the Astros just because.
We hate them. We hate them.
I don't, and I
Oh, don't throw yourself
I
under
don't
the
know.
bus. Don't throw yourself
No,
under
no,
the
no.
bus. You could be an Astro, okay?
Yeah, let me say this. I would love to be an Astro next year.
Okay.
However, I wouldn't have had them going this far,
Hmm.
just because. But I did say at the beginning of the playoffs that the only team that could beat the Braves were the Phillies, and if the Phillies did beat the Braves, they would win it all. And I stand by that.
So we've seen one of the most unique talents in baseball, really, a long history, in Shohei Ohtani, a two-way player that has done it well on really both sides of the ball. Now, he got hurt at the end of the year where it looked like he was going to get maybe a $600 million contract, but still could get a $500 million contract. What is your thoughts on him maybe getting his money? And also, could you see where a trend where a two-way player could be in, especially with the DH now?
Do I see a trend? I mean, if you're good enough, but you got to be good enough, and you got to have an opportunity to prove that you're good enough, right? Where like most guys don't get that opportunity. Probably a lot of guys will try, being a position player and it doesn't work out, and then they go to the mound, or maybe vice versa, instead of doing them both at the same time, because the minor leagues are the minor leagues where he had an opportunity to show that he was good enough in a league with high level of play that wasn't the minor leagues. So I don't know if many guys will get that opportunity actually, unless they just absolutely destroy college baseball doing it. As far as him getting his money, I mean, this guy he's the best player we've ever seen. From both sides of the ball. He should get his money. I don't know where. If what do I think is best for baseball? I think best for baseball is Ohtani's a Yankee and he's in pinstripes and he's hitting balls into the upper deck down the right field line, and that's what I see him in. I don't know the guy. I've never met the guy. I've never even shook his hand. So I know nothing. But if I was trying to tell the future, I mean, that makes the most sense to me.
Well, you know what makes the most sense for me? You going back to the Yankees and winning another championship. That's what makes sense for me, man.
Let me tell you something. I would love to have a Yankees World Series ring. Let's put it that way.
You know what? I'd love to have a Yankees World Series ring too. I don't think
right now, I'm just hoping for a locker, man. I just need an opportunity to prove that I can still do this shit at a high level. I don't know what happened, but they tried to shuffle me out, and I'm working my ass off to try to shuffle myself back in. And hopefully this past season showed people that I'm not done yet, and hopefully the phone rings.
How about the music industry? I mean, I see you have a guitar back there. Could you sing us something? I mean,
no, I can't play the guitar. That guitar is actually from that was what they gave us at the All-Star game.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at you, man. I mean, that's awesome. I need an all-star guitar. Speedy, you have
I wish I could play the guitar, but I can't.
Well, do you have any? Did anybody sign that guitar at the All-Star game?
No, I didn't get anybody to sign it, but I got I don't know where it is, but I do have an All-Star jersey signed by the whole team.
Oh, look at you. And you were an all-star. Look at that.
I was.
Yes. And that's something that you could always remember as a major league player, is being an all-star, right?
Yes. I made it to the major leagues. I was an all-star, and I have a World Series ring. It's pretty. The only other thing you can do is go to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if that's in the cards for me at the moment, but
maybe you could be a model after you're done.
Hey, you never know.
I mean, hey, man, I saw your Instagram pictures. I mean, you're all dressed to impress, man.
I appreciate that.
Listen, man, I'm into fashion. I'm a very big fashion person. I actually started my own clothing line, so I know a little bit about
Really?
fashion.
What's it called?
It's called Flaunt Inc. That's what it's called. So
nice.
I'll send you some stuff. How's that?
Yeah, send me some stuff. I'm into it.
Absolutely. If you like, I'll send you some stuff. You tell me what you like, and I'll send it to you.
Love that.
There you go. So there we go. Look at this, Speedy. We got all these guys, and we interview a lot of different baseball players, ex-baseball players, professional baseball, and we interview football players, hockey players. But you know what really intrigues me about the athletes that we talk to is we get to know you as a personality, not as a professional athlete, but as a personality.
Mm-hmm.
Off the, who did we interview with? The guy who just got arrested,
Rashad Breeland.
Rashad Breeland. He was on our show. Funny. First of all, in the beginning of the interview, interview. He was so quiet, and we were trying to get him out of his shell. As soon as he opened up, he wouldn't shut up. And then,
Really?
yeah, 4 weeks later, I call up Speedy. I said, Speedy, you know Prashant Breeland? He just got caught with an AK-47 and a bunch of drugs in the back of his car. I don't think he's
Not
getting out of
good.
jail anytime soon.
I was trying to lure him to
Not
go to the
good.
Giants originally.
Not good. Speedy, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
As a Mets fan,
Uh-oh.
seeing Scherzer and Verlander in the playoffs, how does it make you feel?
Well, Scherzer was a sore subject based on a lot of the things he was saying about the Mets. I know you pitched with him, so I think you pitched with him in 1 year, I believe.
Yeah, I was with him in LA for a short period.
Okay, yeah, I would say the Mets were going for a lot of flash all at once too, and it was kind of embracing the new role that Steve Cohen has been playing. So at the time, I'm like, okay, I'm glad the contract wasn't a 5-year deal, but the way he went out was definitely just not a good. But Verlander, I wasn't really encouraging it at the time, so I was more hoping they would go for younger pitching, and now that's what I hope they do now. So I mean, it wasn't the only problem that the Mets had this year, but yeah, definitely annoying to see they could potentially face it in Game 7 of the playoffs.
I've been telling everybody, for all the Met fans out there, I told everybody, we had an analyst, I said it yesterday, we had an analyst from the Nationals that was on the show. She attacked me in every kind of way because I said, Max Scherzer is going to fail in New York. And she says, he's never failed anywhere. He's been healthy, this. And I said, that shoulder is going to affect him. His lat problem is going to affect him when it comes to New York. She thought I was out of my mind. Now we reach out to her. We try to get her on the show. She never wants to come back on the show again because she knows what I'm going to do to her.
She doesn't want the told you so.
No, she doesn't want me to torture her. And then the Verlander move, for all the Met fans out there, oh, we got Justin Verlander. He's better than this. He's better than that. Jacob deGrom. He came here, and he was here for, 5 minutes? And then he gets traded back to the same friggin' team. He left. That was wonderful, by the way, by the Mets. Thank you, Uncle Stevie. Even though I'm not a Met fan, I'm a Yankee fan.
No, the Mets just love going for flash when they always need bullpen too, and they always just add another starter, trade for another starter, something like that. They could use somebody like you, Shane.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Hey, why don't we reach out to Uncle Stevie and bring Shane Greene back to New York?
Let's go.
There we go.
I'm ready.
He'll play the Blues for us every single game.
I'll play for both teams if they let me. I'll play for whoever give me the locker. I'll do it.
Well, we'll get you a walk-on song. What obviously Diaz has his own song, so
right.
We'll figure out a walk-on song for you. I mean, something not Metallica, because that's all Mariano Rivera.
Listen, either one of you gets me a locker in New York, you can pick my walkout song. How about that?
All right, look at this. Speedy, we're going to have to reach out to some of our friends over there.
So we're going to have to manipulate Rob Manfred to create a rule where if you're in the same city with two different teams, you're allowed to play for those teams at different points during the year. Now, the real question is what would happen during the Subway Series?
The highest bidder gets the guy.
The Mets will win.
It's all business, baby.
It's surpass of number one river.
Every time I hear Rob Manfred's name, I want to throw up. So, I hope Theo Epstein takes over this league and this baseball MLB, because to me, Rob Manfred, as much as everybody says he's done well for baseball, me, you, and everybody else can get endorsements and get the TV deals that baseball is going to get. Everybody wants to blow up the commissioners. Garage and Goodell's making $68 million a year for the NFL. And then you have Rob Manfred, I heard, is making over $10, $12, $13 million a year from baseball. And then Bettman's making $8 million. And this guy's making this million. They stink. They all stink. They're all horrible. Stop it.
Okay, let me ask you this question then.
Hit me.
If you were the commissioner of MLB and you got to make 2 rule changes, what would they be?
Well, go ahead, Speedy. I'll let you go first.
All right, definitely get rid of the extra inning rule. I hate that so much with the runner starting.
The ghost runner.
Yeah, get rid of that. I think that's way too much. And the second one it's tough.
I've got one that I really like.
Yeah, God, you do your first.
I've got one. If it goes to extra innings, after 12 innings, you pick your best power hitter and you give them 10 swings at a pitch, and whoever hits more home runs wins the game. That would be.
You want to finish the game in a home run derby?
Why not? Why not? You get your best power hitter, and
Is it against a real pitcher or batting?
Real pitcher. You pick out whoever's on the mound. You get your best hitter, and he's got 10 pitches to try to knock the ball out. Whoever hits the most home runs wins the game.
What if nobody hits any homers?
Well, then you keep on doing it until somebody hits a home run, just like a shootout, just like in hockey.
Okay, so it's
in the regular
so
season.
it's a
Only in the
shootout.
regular
I got
season,
you.
Shane. Only in the regular season. In the
I
playoffs,
got you.
you let it go.
So
But
you want a baseball version of a shootout?
why not? It'll be fun. Fans will love it. They will absolutely.
What if you did it the opposite way, where you did it until there was a swing and miss?
Well, you could do that too. I mean, if it's for the pitcher, yeah, why not? Right? You could do that too. Whatever makes the game more interesting and more fun to go and watch. Who wouldn't want to see your Aaron Judge go against their best relief pitcher and whoever, if he can hit 1 or 2 home runs out of 10 pitches and the other guy can't hit against the best relief pitcher for the Yankees, you win. I think it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. It'll be competitive.
That's it. That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Here's one I thought.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I mean, I'm just trying to think here. Rob Manfred needs to get his head out of his ass, okay? Think of it. He's a pitching clock. Of all things you think of, a friggin' pitching clock. Huh.
Here's one I thought of that I don't know if anyone's thought of. It's kind of a unique one because I was kind of indifferent with the 3-batter minimum when they brought that in too, because you have your lefty specialists or something like that that will come in for one hitter or something like that. Why not you can't have the same pitcher in the same series? Let's say you get one designated specialist, like one pitcher. You have to announce it before the game. The manager has to announce it before the game, but they can't do the same one in the same series. So if you have a 3-game series and you announce one lefty specialist, you can't have the same guy the next game.
Oh, so you have one guy that
one
can face
designated
just one
specialist that has to be announced before the game.
Oh wow,
interesting.
I don't hate that one.
Interesting.
I understand the concept, and that's a good concept, especially in the playoffs. You watch some of these playoff games. I forget who it was last night, but somebody came in obviously to face the lefty and then had to face the righty because he walked the lefty before he could get to the next lefty, and it was bases were loaded, but I don't remember exactly who it was. But if that's the rule, he comes out of the game and the righty faces the righty, most likely.
And maybe this for the fans, so they'll be interested more in the game after extra innings. If a pop-up fly goes into goes into the audience and they catch it, it's automatically an out.
Yes.
How's that?
Oh well, now you just want to go to a bananas game.
We're actually gonna have their coach on, one of their coaches on next week.
Really?
So, yeah.
I haven't been to one of their games, but I did play in that stadium back in the day.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Wow.
When they were the Sand Gnats, they were still the Sand Gnats.
Yeah, Matt Joyce, ex-outfielder, was the first one to bring that up to us. We didn't know those Savannah Banana rules at the time, too.
Yeah.
He was the one that was actually, I think we asked him, one of us asked him, like, what rule would you change if you were to do that? And he actually brought that one up specifically.
It's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, there's so many different. Here's the thing is you want more, the fans, do you guys want more offense?
I don't care. Whatever makes the game more fun to watch.
What makes it more fun to watch? Somebody going 8 innings and striking out 20, or watching 7 homers?
I think obviously with sports, it's all about the offense. Everybody, the young kids want to see the power, the home runs. They want to see
the swag, the bat flips.
The swag, exactly. Look what Bryce Harper's doing. He's hitting the ball out. He's pointing to the fingers.
I'm with it. I'm with it. I believe that watching like a nothing game because it's whoever, Verlander versus Scherzer in Game 6 or whatever it is, right? And it's nothing in the 8th, and they've each punched out 15. I think that is fun to watch, but I'm a pitcher, so it's interesting that fans don't think that that's fun to watch because it's nothing. They would rather see 5 homers from each team. It's like going to the NASCAR race. You want to watch the big wreck, but if there's 30 wrecks, it's like, okay, at some point, let's get this race over with. Let's get to the final lap, right?
I was talking more. I like more the quality.
Just a thought.
We could have like a runway show. Who has the hottest wife?
Well, you can't.
I'm sure the players would shoot me.
Maybe so.
Oh man.
I was gonna say, like, as far as me, like the quality of play is all I care about. I just don't want to see ugly baseball as much. I'm more of a strategist, so I don't really care as much. But it seems like MLB is just trying to cater to those like younger fans, trying to get them more involved, and I think that's what's making it so hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, the younger generation is always going to be the next fans, right? But I think that baseball is doing a good job. Okay, let me ask you this question: because you hate the bases, do you hate that Ronald did what he did this year?
I don't, even as
No.
a Mets fan. I think that's one of the best years.
Because a lot of people are saying that he only did that because of the bases and the clock rule.
I've
but,
heard that too.
I
I don't
mean,
have an issue with it.
I think he's doing that without the bases and the clock rule. Personally, I
Hey,
mean,
but-
maybe minus.
But did he do it in the
stolen bases.
playoffs? That's the question. Did it work in the playoffs? I mean, it's a different game in the playoffs, and I know
It's a
baseball's
different
trying to
game in the
open it. Yeah.
playoffs.
It's to me, they thought it could open up the game, and it didn't open up the game. If anything, I know everybody's trying to protect the players, and they think by making the bag bigger, it protects the players. Not necessarily, because there were still a lot of injuries for people stealing the bases. As a matter of fact, I think there were just as many injuries this year than there were last year. So what was the point of doing that? So that's just my opinion. I don't understand what Rob Manfred's trying to do here, and even the executives that are working, even Theo Epstein. But I'm sure Theo has his sense of the way the game is going. But I just don't like the way baseball's transitioning the game. It's become more of a laughingstock game. It's not. Baseball is the pastime. It's what made baseball was everything to sports, and it was at one point the number one sport in the country. Now all of a sudden you have football, you have this, you have that.
Let me ask you another question.
Go ahead.
How many baseball games did you go to this year?
1, 2, 3, 4 games.
I went to 5, I believe.
I went to 4 games. I went to 3 Yankee games and 1 Met game. And I'll tell you this, and I'm a Yankee fan. Citi Field is so much better than Yankee Stadium. Just my opinion.
Like the atmosphere?
The atmosphere,
Or the
the family-oriented place. I mean, the stadium is beautiful when you go up on, the second floor and you walk around and you get to see. They have more stuff to go in. I mean, obviously, I love Monument Park. I think it's beautiful. But everything else about Citi Field is just, it stands out more. There's something about Citi Field that I like more than Yankee Stadium. I'm a Yankee fan.
Really?
For me coming out and saying that, the old Yankee Stadium, by far the best stadium.
I wish so much I could have experienced that.
I did quite a few times. I saw a couple of really big games at the old Yankee Stadium. So I was at a bunch of playoff games. I was at Doc Gooden's no hitter. I was at that game. So yeah, I saw a lot of great games. I saw David Cohn's one hitter when he was at the Yankees. So I had the opportunity to get a chance to see so much great baseball. And I grew up a Don Mattingly fan. I'm a diehard Donnie baseball fan. So everything about Don Mattingly, and everybody says, would you want Don Mattingly as my manager? No, I wouldn't. I don't know if he's a great baseball manager. Everywhere he's gone, he's failed. That's just my opinion. But as a baseball player, I worshiped him, and I met him a couple times. I always told him that there was something about you, and I think he should be a Hall of Famer. I really do.
Okay, next question. Do you think that the Phillies are the most fun team to watch right now?
Actually, I like the Texas Rangers.
You like watching the Rangers
much
more?
praise as a Mets fan.
I like the Texas Rangers. I love what I've seen with them. I love their young hitters. I love what Bruce Bochy. You're talking about one of the worst teams in the league last year. The Texas Rangers were horrible. You bring in.
I'm all in on the Rangers.
I'm telling you,
I hope it's Phillies Rangers.
I picked that. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. For all those fans out there that like to make bets and stuff like that, they should have listened to our show before the playoffs started. I had Philadelphia winning the series against Arizona. Yes, I picked Arizona to go all the way to the NLCS. I said Arizona will lose 4-2 against Philly. And I said the Astros and the Texas, the battle of the Texas teams. And I said the Texas Rangers will knock off the Astros 4-2, and they will meet in the World Series. And in 7 games, yes, 7 games, the Texas Rangers will win their first World Series. And that's my prediction, and I think that's going to happen. Bet on it, baby.
That's a good prediction.
Yeah.
That's a good prediction.
I don't
know who's going to win that series, but it's going to be fun to watch.
Oh, I can't wait. I'll go.
I asked that question. I asked that question to you because I think that the Phillies are the most fun team to watch right now. But I think 50% of that is because of the fans there. Like I watched the game today when they're not in Philly, and it's not as fun to watch.
Yeah,
because you can't feel the atmosphere of the stadium through the television screen like
Shane,
you can when they're
you
in
need to
Philly.
fly to Philadelphia and go to a live game, my friend.
When the Phillies are in the World Series,
Mhm.
I will be at least one of those games.
So let's
You can
go.
count on that.
I don't live that far from Philadelphia. Let's go. Let's go to the game. Let's do
That'd
it.
be sick.
Let's do it.
I'll be there.
We'll be in touch. If Philadelphia goes to the World Series, we will
We're
pick
going.
a game. I will drive. I'm being serious here. I will drive to Philadelphia.
I couldn't be
I'll
more
meet you there.
serious.
Let's go. Let's go. I'll go to the Philadelphia Phillies game anytime.
You gonna wear a Phillies jersey?
No. No. I'm a Yankee fan. Okay.
Oh, don't wear a Yankee jersey.
I won't wear. I won't wear any
Okay.
baseball.
'Cause
I
there's
will
nothing
have-
worse than the guy that wears the jersey of a team that's not in the. There's nothing worse than that.
No, I'm not doing that. I
You
don't
got-
want to. I don't want to be
okay.
trampled. I did fight. I was a boxer and a mixed martial artist, but I'm not there to fight. I'm a lover for that game, not a fighter. Okay, so let's keep it
I
at
love
that.
that.
Okay, so let's do
The
it.
Phillies go to the World Series, we'll be there.
Let's go. All right.
I love
One
that.
of my friends, you brought up the Yankees. One of my friends who's actually a Yankee fan was actually at one of the Phillies Yankees World Series games in 2009, and he actually got a cup of soda dumped on him.
Oh, how
Yeah,
nice.
not a good idea. Well, I don't think it's a good idea to do it because in certain stadiums you're going to get treated a certain way. But I also think it's a really bad idea to wear a jersey of a team that's not playing in the game in which you're
So
attending.
you're right. I think
That-
you're right.
It's just it's not
E-
it's not a good
especially-
look, and you see it. You see it almost every game.
Especially if you're a New York guy going to Philadelphia, not a smart idea.
Yeah, that's a bad. No, not good.
It's not going to work, ladies and gentlemen. But Shane, we love you. Speedy will be in touch with you, and I'm telling you, Philadelphia goes to the World Series. Let's
I'll
get
be
World
there.
Series tickets. Let's go. I'm being serious. We'll go.
I'm dead ass. I'll be there.
All right, there we go. Shane Greene, us. Let's go, baby. Maybe we'll do a show
Let's go.
outside of the stadium. We'll do a show at the end outside the stadium. Maybe we'll get Bryce.
Yeah, we'll
Harper.
tailgate for it.
Yeah,
We'll tailgate for it.
that's right. We could. Let's do it. I have no problem
ready.
doing it. Let's go. All right, Shane. You better live up to it because Brandon Jacobs, he lost the bet, baby. He lost the bet. He promised us. Now we had him on the show quite a few times and he cried us the river. And he told me last year that Jets and Giants play next year. If the Jets have a better record than the Giants, he's taking us out to dinner and he's taking us to the Jets and Giants game. As soon as the Jets started winning and the Giants started losing, I haven't heard from Brandon Jacobs.
He blocked you. You got blocked.
He is hiding behind his whatever. He's hiding behind his 6'8", 15-year-old son, who's going to be a 5-star recruit. I don't know what he's doing, but I'm mad at him. When I get him on the show, I'm going to tell him I'm mad at you. You made a bet and you lost. So
Well, tell him he'll make up for it if he comes to the Phillies game when they're in the World Series. How
you know
about
what? I might even do that. That'll be funny. He'll buy us all tickets to go to the Philadelphia
There you go.
Phillies game. Why would we have to pay? Hey, Brandon, you want to make up for what you did? You got to buy us all
that?
tickets.
There you go. Now we're in it. Next thing you know, we're in a suite, baby. Let's go.
I don't know if Brandon Jacobs is going to pay for a suite. But he did say he likes the Philadelphia fans. He did say that. So,
Yeah.
hey, maybe.
I've only ever been there not as a Philly, and man, when the fans are crazy, it's more fun to play. That's just the way it is.
Well,
That's just how it is.
You just gotta hope they don't eat dog crap.
No, not dog crap. Horse crap. Okay. Get it right here. Get it right here. They're the ones that we
Don't-
eat.
yeah, yeah,
Who
we should
picks up a
encourage them.
horse manure and eats it on the side of the street after you win a championship against the Patriots? What kind of sense is that? I mean, no
The sense of the Philadelphia sports fan,
disgusting.
apparently.
It makes me want to throw up. We had ex-Philadelphia Eagle fans, ex-Philadelphia players that won a Super Bowl that year that we told them what they didn't even know that they were eating horse crap. They
Oh,
almost threw
Errol's
up.
scaring him. Kenyon Barner.
That's not good.
Scaring him. He's like, I don't want to hear about it anymore. And it kept getting brought up. It made him regret ever being a part of that team.
The only sports team, the only sports fans that would eat horse shit.
Not good.
Anyway, Shane,
Not
we
good.
appreciate your time, man, and we'll be in touch, my friend.
Yeah, let me know.
Absolutely, we will. I hope
I won't be late to the game. How about that?
Okay, that's good enough for me, man. I mean, as long as you show up, unlike Brandon J.
I'll be there.
All right.
I'll be there.
All right, I got you on this.
All right, boys. I appreciate everything,
Thank
man.
you, Shane. Shane Greene, ladies and gentlemen, 10-year MLB pitcher, still in the major leagues, trying to get back on the show. I believe he will.
Let's go. Give me a locker.
I'm going to work on it. We're going to reach out. We're going to reach out to Mr. Uncle Stevie and start pulling out the contracts, baby. Uncle Stevie needs to open
There
up
you go.
Shane Greene, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great show, Speedy.
See you
Great
guys.
show. Thank you, Shane. It's been a great show. It really has been. And we did miss on Mr. Bulluck, but we'll get him on next week. We'll work on it. I'm sure he got lost somewhere. Maybe he's still in London time. I don't know. Central time, Eastern time. I don't know what time he planned to come on the show. But
maybe he thought it was a code name.
I guess so. But we did get Shane on, and he was fantastic, and we had a lot of fun with him and good personality. And hey, if Philadelphia goes to the World Series, that's where we're going, Speedy. We're going to a Philadelphia Phillies game. That will be interesting. I'm interested. That's for sure. Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Shane Greene for joining us. Thank you for Let's Parlay, Reno, Johnny, Chaz, and Derek, Mr. Mountaineer for joining us. Great week for shows. Listen to the Weekend Crunch, which airs after the Islander game at 10:30 on Saturday night with me and Speedy Petey. All you have to do, if you're here in Long Island, you go to 103.9 FM. Or if you don't live out here, go to LI News Radio. You can go to their website, or you can go to iHeartRadio and look up LI News Radio, and you can tune in to listen to our show after the Islander game. So I'm looking forward to that, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back next week at Wednesday. No, not at Wednesday. On Wednesday at 7 p.m. So tune in and listen to us every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Looking forward to it. And Speedy, have anything to say before we go?
8:30 on Wednesday, we will have Devin Marrero. He was a second baseman. He played for the Red Sox. He was briefly with the Mets last year. I think he had 6 at-bats with the Mets last year. And now he's a free agent right now. He'll be on at 8:30. And then returning to the show at 9 o'clock, our friend Michael McHenry, catcher for the Cardinals, the Rockies, and the Pirates.
We loved Mike.
Yeah, who was very one of the best personalities we've ever had.
Analyst, by the way.
Yes, and he was an analyst for the Pirates this year. He'll be back on at 9 on Wednesday.
That'll be fun. We'll have a great lineup of guests on next week and great content. So tune in as always. Until then, this is Errol, Speedy. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy week 7 of the NFL football season. Go Jets. Oh, wait a second. Bye week. Go Giants. Hopefully they win. Let's hope they win. Tune in next week. Good night.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.